Welcome everyone. We are here, day 3. It's all on the table today. We got community awards. We have a really elongated look at Solidworks 2025, which I know a lot of you are excited about. A technical session with Kara Tucker from Gibson Guitars at the desk. I'm so excited about that. But got to talk about the special guest we have today, F1 legend, Paddy Lowe. Paddy, I'm so excited you're here. How's it going?
Thank you very much. Great privilege to be here.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
I have to say, if there's someone that is even more excited than I am that you're here, it has to be Jesse. I was mentioning to Paddy off air, when Jesse heard that Paddy was coming to the event, like just attending, like, wait, Paddy Lowe's coming to 3DEXPERIENCE World, whoa! So super excited, but Jesse is a huge car guy, so I'm sure you guys have a lot in common, and you'll get along just fine. But yeah, Jesse, so. I know you're like beaming with questions for Paddy, so I'll let you go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I don't want to monopolize the conversation here, but yeah,
But you will.
Right, but I will.
Yeah. But I will. I didn't mean to, but I will. It's okay.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so we'll be hearing from you on main stage in a little while. We're here at the live desk already. I see we've got our priorities straight this time around for this event.
Yes.
Start off at the live desk. It's great to have you here. Excellent way to kick off the day. Yeah, so our viewers who are watching this right now, hello, thank you for watching. We'll be seeing you again. So we'll try not to duplicate too much information. I'm sure we'll have a great time talking on main stage as well. But I was thinking maybe we could talk a little bit about designing around constraints, because in Formula One, obviously, there's a lot of that. You went through a long span of that changing, right, from Williams days on through Mercedes. I think that could be kind of a fun conversation to kind of work around. I would love to know, in Formula One, how do you even do that? Is it like rule book comes down, you've got 100 pages, everyone goes off into their corner, they start reading, and then you come back together and make a car? How does that process even work?
Yeah, I mean, that's such an interesting topic you brought up, because even the word formula, that's the constraint.
Right.
So the reason Formula One is called Formula One.
A lot of people don't know that.
In the old days, formula was meaning this is the rule book, the formula for that series, because there were other formulae, 2, 3, 4, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
So it is a set of constraints, and if there was no rule book in Formula One, the cars would just be absurdly fast, absurdly dangerous, and actually not interesting to watch, because you need a certain speed, and Formula One cars are the fastest circuit racing cars in the world, but they're within a constraint, a lap time that makes for entertainment.
Yeah.
So we have a rule book. When I started in Formula One, which was 1987, the rule book was very thin indeed. And we think of those days I call the Wild West, actually, which is very appropriate.
Yeah,
now
it's
in Texas, actually.
There could be rules for a reason,
so
right?
In those days, and I came in, fortunately, to that great luxury, where you could think of an idea overnight and come in the morning and start work on it.
Yeah.
And it wasn't in the rule book. So it was more about your own ability, the engineering capacity to deliver it. And now, I left 5 years ago, the sport, but even then the book was, I don't know,
pretty comprehensive.
Maybe 200 pages.
Yeah.
So more and more thick. A lot of that's about safety, by the way, so that's all good stuff. That's why people don't die anymore in the sport.
Yeah, incredibly safe.
But a lot of it's about cost saving to stop people using absurd materials.
Sure.
But it's a challenge, and it's very interesting that you raised it, because human nature is such that it actually responds really well to challenge. And we see some fantastic examples in Formula One where a constraint was put in that actually caused the engineers to deliver a better result that they should have done anyway.
Right.
So, I mean, a great example was engines. So engines used to last 300 kilometers, which is a race distance, if you were lucky. You remember, a lot of them didn't make it that far.
Yeah.
Now, you have, it's a complicated formula, but essentially 3 engines for the entire season
Yeah.
per driver. And how did that happen? Simply by writing rules that said your engine must last this long or this long, and the number kept getting bigger.
Yeah.
And in actual fact, when we first got the first constraint around engine life, we thought, oh, the engines are going to be less powerful. That's your natural thought.
Yeah.
Not a bit of it. All it caused the engineers to focus on was why were the engines braking? And they found they were braking for really silly reasons that weren't about power, they weren't about cost,
Yeah.
they were just about detail.
Yeah.
You know, little radius that would cause a crack. You know, so they just went around fixing all these things.
Right.
We end up with an engine that lasts, you know, 10, 20, 30 times as long and has more power.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's
So-
an interesting point, because that kind of ties into what you're doing now, which we haven't actually mentioned, right? Zero petroleum, you guys are working on synthetic fuels, but it's one of those things that I've heard you kind of talk about this, but there's waste for no reason sometimes, right? It's just we're not focusing on it. We're not looking for the solution. So having those set of rules in this case is a nice way to say, well, let's look at the problem and see what it actually is.
Again, great you raised that, because as you said, we started a company making synthetic fuel. And to those who don't understand what that means, it's sometimes called e-fuel, H-fuel, or power to liquid. But essentially, we make hydrocarbon fuels from air and water and renewable energy. And that isn't, it isn't alchemy, as that might sound. You know, you get hydrogen from water by splitting water, and you get carbon dioxide from the air, from where it was emitted.
Yeah.
Therefore, a circular process. So this is a fuel that doesn't have to be dug out of the ground, completely fossil-free. Now again, constraint. If I ran the world,
And I think you should, by the way.
well,
My next
if it-
question,
you
what
know,
would you do?
or rather, if I ran, you know, the COP system, the annual get-together to try and stop global warming.
Sure.
The first rule you would write is you can no longer develop new oil fields.
Yeah.
You keep the ones we got. Everybody wants their money back. But
Right.
don't find any new ones. Just like we got rid of whaling. So, and if you, that would be a constraint, a bit like my engine constraint in Formula One.
Yep.
As soon as you put in that constraint, everybody would understand. Okay, and it will be engineers, by the way, because we're the people that deliver it. There's a great quote from Prince Duke of Edinburgh, the Queen's husband, where he said, you know, anything not created by God was created by an engineer. So that's a nice takeaway for the audience.
Yeah.
But if you know, the engineers would just get around and they'd find a way to build out to scale what we're now doing, synthetic fuels, and it will happen.
Yeah.
And actually, when you look back in 100 years, they will look back and say, why did we not do that sooner?
Yeah. Yeah, one of the things that, you know, I've heard, you know, interviews and things with you in the past, and one of the things that struck me most is just your confidence in it. Of course it's going to happen. You know,
It has to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just need to focus on it, right? The right constraints have to be in place.
Here's the bottom line. It will be cheaper than fossil fuel once we get the tech right.
Yeah.
It will.
It will.
So that's
Wow.
that's why we'll look in 100 years. We'll say, why didn't we do that?
Yeah.
You know, 20 years before. So,
yeah, that's
it's,
amazing.
Fascinating.
So I guess you mentioned a takeaway. So for the folks watching, you've been really successful under loose regulations. You've been really successful under tight regulations. Do you have any recommendations for people working, you know, since you've worked under all conditions and been successful? Do you think there's anything, you know, part of your personality or something that you've actively done that you might be able to pass along and say, you know, this is something you can carry over to be successful in any of those constraint conditions?
I think in that context, the idea of, you know, challenge yourself to doing what might seem impossible. To, you know, I often thought of the idea of inventing artificial rules for my team in Formula One.
Yeah.
That would make a bit like the engine that developed that example of the engine.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think that's a great thought to have. You know, is there some degree of freedom I should stop that will take me in a really good direction with this innovation?
Yeah, that's interesting, and that's I think something that goes across probably everything, because I've seen painters do that. Okay, I'm going to do a painting with two colors. See how it turns out, you know, and sometimes it turns out incredible. It's like, oh, that was a cool exercise to maybe expand myself here or there, and that totally applies to engineering.
Yeah.
You know, cost is a really big one. I mean,
Sure.
you know, and that's a real life issue with
Sure.
product. So, you know, often when you drive yourself to make something for a cost, it drives terrific innovation.
Yeah.
My first career actually was in a company making packaging. So, you know, cans actually, just like that. And I don't know if you know, but I mean, the I don't know about this particular one. Looks a bit dodgy, but you know, all the money in a can, in a drink can, is in the can. I mean, the drink is just a bit of sugar.
Right.
Trivial. I mean, there is huge technology in can making. I can tell you that. These things are made to the precision you wouldn't believe, and the material quality you need to make a can and get it to a price is some of the most demanding material quality of any products. And the reason is because of the unit cost is so low. So, you know, there's an example where cost has driven incredible technology into products.
So speaking of regulation, speaking of cost, I think it was Zach Brown, CEO of McLaren, now that said recently with the cost cap, so now we have cost cap in Formula One, right? With the cost cap, they should dial back the regulations a little bit and maybe relax them, allow for a little more freedom. I tended to agree with them at that point. Maybe let the creativity expand a little bit more, where the cost is saying, okay, this is your constraint. You can't spend too much money. Let's see what you can come up with. Almost obviously, there's going to be safety regulations and things like that. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I 100% agree. One of the issues they've got is that a large part of that rule book I talked about has been put in place over the last 20, 25 years in order to reduce cost.
Yeah.
And now you put in a financial constraint, then you've got a double constraint.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
So I think certainly that should be revisited. The mathematicians in the audience will find double constraint, you know, very upsetting. So that's what they have. Having said that, my experience is there's often nervousness around releasing too much freedom because people fear, you know, and this is wrong. You know, the bold engineers will not fear freedom. Yeah. But unfortunately, you know, it creates risk. So too much freedom, there's a risk you take the wrong avenue. Right. And then you get it wrong. Slow car, you get sacked. And, you know, right. So it may take some years for some of these constraints to be unwound.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. And I'm sure some of it, in some regard too, is to try to keep the racing interesting, right? They never want to run away, you know, victory or any which way. So if there's something that can kind of keep everybody on similar playing fields, the racing they expect may be better. So there is certainly some regard. But Formula One is such a playground for engineers to develop things that end up going out into the world. I always love to see when the engineers are kind of allowed to run free and come up with things, because it's such a proving ground for all sorts of things.
No, and some of the most exciting innovations in Formula One have come from that type of idea.
Yeah, certainly.
You know, my favourite, if you'll give me a minute on that, is, I don't know if you know, but gearboxes in Formula One are seamless, so there is literally no interruption between one gear and another when you change gear.
Yep, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, and this is due to fantastic control. So we actually put the new gear in first before disengaging the old one. Yeah. Imagine how scary that is. So, because if it catches up with itself in a split second, you've blown the box. Yeah. Because you're in two gears. Right. So just inside the backlash between those two gears, you have to take out the old one. But meanwhile, you've kept the power, you know, flat on the throttle, no interruption power. Every car runs that now. We invented it in McLaren. But, you know, what an exciting thing to deliver. You know, it was just unbelievable.
Seriously. Yeah, and obviously the ramifications of so many things that have gone into Formula One that trickle out into road cars, it just expands into millions of applications. Very cool. Well, we are about at the end of this segment. I got to about 2 of my questions as expected, but we'll hear more from Paddy on main stage in a little bit. Cannot wait. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, everyone. We're here live at 3D Experience World 2024 here in Dallas, Texas, and I'm here with the creator of Extrudo. Oh, no. The director.
I would love to take credit for Extrudo. Everybody loves Pomegranate.
Everyone, yeah. Yes, and Boolean Blast as well.
Absolutely.
Here we go. Boolean Blast. So I'm here with Kevin Burney. He's the director of user experience at Solidworks, and you and I, we run into each other at this conference kind of in transit to different events. Kevin is a really, really busy guy at this conference. This is, director of user experience. You are such a champion, just through working with you, of working with users, wanting to get user feedback. I know it's very core to you as a person, but also very core to your team. And of course, we have some 5,000 or so individuals here to potentially get feedback from. So you've been pretty busy at this conference, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Me and my team, that's what we do basically the whole time we're here. We come in Saturday and start talking to users pretty much immediately. We do user research the entire time, and when we're not doing kind of formal sit-down sessions showing people what's coming next in SolidWorks, we're out shaking hands, saying hi to everybody that we possibly can to see, like, hey, would you like to come and see what's coming next? That's everything we do kind of runs on that feedback from customers. So, yeah, we have to be on for the full 5 days.
So take us through a bit more about that. So what does this look like? So say I'm a user, of course you have your own sessions, your own technical sessions and workshops, the meetups that you and your team take part in, whether you're attending them or you're hosting them. So it's a really special event to meet, the people developing the products with you guys in mind. So definitely come for 2025. I've been saying that throughout the conference. This is the best time to put 2025 on the calendar for next year. So we'll make sure we put the QR code up for just throughout the episode or throughout the rest of the stream, that is, so you can have your chance to check out 2025 and all that it has to offer. But yeah, take us, Kevin, through what does that look like when someone sits down? Is there kind of like a formalized process? And you guys have been doing this for years, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We've been doing that. So I got hired to do this actually. So back in 2009, that was my original job.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I that was my first job here was user researcher.
Okay.
So I think a lot of people here that know me, the first time they met me was me bothering them to come sit down with us and do some user research. So
yeah.
But yeah, so we've been doing that for as long as I've ever heard about what we're doing at SolidWorks, as long as SolidWorks World has been around. Jim Wilkinson, others have been, having these kinds of alpha. We used to call them alpha sessions. Now we call them usability sessions. But yeah, it starts with usually when people register, they can. There's a checkbox in the registration thing, like, hey, yes, I'd like to give feedback on future SolidWorks products.
Okay.
And so it starts there. We kind of get those names. We email people, and we try to arrange times before World. And then, we meet them here. We have a room downstairs. We got free muffins. And, basically you sit down with, a member of my team or a member of product definition.
Yep.
We sit down and we talk one-on-one. So a lot of times it's just like, here's my laptop, check it out. Here's some new stuff we've been working on. Or sometimes it's even like, here's a prototype of some new stuff we've been working on. So you get early view of what we're thinking about.
Yeah.
And we get to pick your brain, along with a bunch of other people, on how should this work? Should we design this feature differently? What's the best order of operations for this to go in? So really helps us shape it. The dev team is really excited about it because they get a good, it just kind of helps us minimize risk, right? We don't ship something and then find out we did it wrong. We find out we did it wrong well before we ship something.
Yep.
So it really helps, and a lot of great features have come out of it. So
you mentioned the little checkbox, and when you were saying that, the checkbox for registration, and this we should say this is a big event in terms of your team and just collectively our teams getting user feedback, because we have so many interesting skilled users and product developers here at 3D Experience World every year. But it is, it's the 25th year of World. It's 3D Experience World, but it isn't just SolidWorks, right? We're sort of growing it out to where we're looking for interviews for other brand sort of centric products as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So this year we have folks from Innovia are here, the UX design team at Innovia.
Big on, for those of you who don't know, cloud services. We talked about that. Part of each new seat of SolidWorks, right? So Innovia is really the fundamental backbone of a lot of what we see in cloud services. So that's, for SolidWorks users, that's very relevant, right?
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. So they're here. We have friends from Simulia here, and usually we have folks from DelmiaWorks here as well. So there's a lot of chances to get involved in other products other than SolidWorks too. Also, we're looking at stuff, right? So
bi-directional, right?
Exactly. So when it comes to even like 3DEXPERIENCE SolidWorks, right? There might be apps and that are owned by other brands, and we're all about kind of getting that feedback from our customers back to those teams. We know them, we work with them all the time, so it's easy for us to be like, hey, we got this feedback about your app. Let's share that and let's try to make it better.
Yep. And I know Tal from your team. I talk with him quite frequently. He always just he glows about this event. Says that just running into people in the hallways, meeting so many people from so many different countries, so many different industries, and it really informs a lot of what you guys do. And you've been on SolidWorks Live, and we've talked frequently about these different types of big user events, right? Where you get to meet all sorts of different interesting users. But for those of you watching online, we've talked about how we'd love to have you here at 3DEXPERIENCE World 2025, but really all throughout the year, you guys are talking with and interviewing, getting to know in terms of what they value, what they care about, how they feel about our products, users, right? Our user community. If we could actually show this slide on my PC, special QR code, right?
Special QR code.
Yeah. So what's this this link here all about? It's actually solidworks.com/UX feedback 2024. What's this survey all about? What can people who are viewing this right now, what can they do with this?
Yeah, I mean, you don't just have to come to World to get the privilege of giving us feedback, right?
Yeah.
So we really want to get as many customers as engaged as we possibly can, right? So, and we're looking for people that have all kinds of different expertise, right? We might be working on something in weldments, we might be working on something in, surfacing and standard features, right? So we need a really broad range of customers and users. So we'd love for the folks watching at home to participate as well, right? So if they can sign up. It asks a couple questions about how you use SolidWorks, and we'll reach out when we have a study throughout the year, right? That we want to get folks feedback on. So, and we do them the only time we're doing development is not February, right? We do it all year long. So it's great to be able to have a pool of people that we can pull on and contact and get them involved and engaged.
100%. Thinking about conferences in general, you're all in the same place at the same time, right? You're actively looking for that sort of connection, but you guys know how it is, right? It's, of course, we all have jobs, we all have our sort of day jobs, as it were. We're not always attending conferences, we're not always at 3DEXPERIENCE World. So having the ability to leverage a quick survey, right? Just to kind of say, okay, I'd like to meet, like to talk about these topics, connect directly with the SolidWorks R&D team. To help guide your products.
Yep.
I think that's super important, right? Just meeting people where they are, like on their own time.
Absolutely. We do stuff where we hop on Zoom at people's lunch breaks. We hop on Zoom. We're like, hey, and screen sharing. I can be just like show them that same thing they'd see if they were in the room with us. Give them control of the mouse.
Yeah.
Have them try things. And it's a great way. Like it's a nice low impact on hopefully on the person giving us feedback too, right? Like you can do it whenever, we can do it whenever. So we like to meet people where they are. So
sure.
Yeah.
What are I wanted to ask you just for maybe some anecdotes. Of course, some of the stuff may or may not be confidential, right? But just over the years at World, maybe a piece of feedback that you had gotten at a particular World that grew into a new feature or new sort of UI. Sort of element, or even this year, what are maybe some quick stories of how that's actually transpired, so that people at home who are looking at this QR code, looking at this link, solidworks.com/UX feedback 2024, can kind of understand, the sort of fruits of everyone's collective labors here.
Yeah. So, even yesterday we were talking to one of the SolidWorks champions, actually. He just whipped open his laptop and he had like 15 different enhancements that he was like, hey,
That's
this would be really great if you could do this, you could do this. And there's like a couple of them where like, I don't know how we haven't even done that yet. Like, that's so, like, we're going to go do that.
Well,
today.
that's a win-win,
like,
yeah. It's like it's so obvious to everyone, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does happen a lot. Like, I mean, people are just, if you're using SolidWorks, 40 hours a week, whatever, you're so engaged in it in a way that we can never be, right? We have to write specs, we have to talk to customers, we have to do other things. Like, there's no way I can use SolidWorks as much as you, right? So your experience is going to be fundamentally different than mine. So just sometimes even just coming and giving us a brain dump, which a lot of customers do, is awesome.
Yeah.
Right? So, and I mean, yeah, over the years we've had some pretty much every great enhancement over the last few years has been tested either at World or, in one of those remote sessions, right? So things like, throne command search in the S key toolbar.
That's one of my favorites.
Yeah, you don't have to even you could just hide all your UI now, right?
Yeah.
You just got to hit S, and if it's not there and you haven't customized it, type it in.
Yep.
Right?
That actually came up, funny enough. That came up, I believe it was actually on the stream. I can't recall whether it was like right before the interview started or if it was on the stream, but a lot of you who watched day one, which was really, it's called 3D Experience World Live. It was the most encompassing look at all that 3D Experience World has to offer as a conference experience. We had a 1-hour technical session with a YouTuber. He has about 170,000 subscribers, all about SolidWorks tutorials. His name's Ariane. So SolidWorks tutorials with Ariane, go look that up, please. But he was showing me some things that I didn't know. Like one thing he was showing me where if you go into the relations pane, after you've made a circular pattern, a sketch pattern in SolidWorks, you can actually right-click on the pattern relation and edit the pattern, kind of go back into the sort of property manager dialog and change the number of instances.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't know that pane, I knew the relations pane was there, but I didn't know I'm not sure I even knew I could right-click on a pattern relation and edit it. And then I returned the favor in a way where I showed him that exact enhancement that you just mentioned. You got the S key shortcut bar, do the command search, and you can drag or just do the quick little plus icon on add a command to that sort of environment, whether you're in part mode, sketch mode, that particular environment's shortcut bar. So it's really cool to see, even going into general session, right? We see the skits. We have the extrudo right here. Extrudo. Yeah. We see, all of the previews of the new features and how a lot of that is built in, maybe from a 3D Experience World a year ago or 2 years ago. It's kind of this like self-fulfilling cycle, which I think is really fascinating and cool.
Yeah, the team. So what you don't know is we're sitting in the back of the convention center texting each other like, hey, Priya, did you see that your enhancement made the main stage? And everybody just cheered. And like when people cheer for enhancements, and one of my team has been the one that worked on the design,
it's like the most fulfilling thing.
We lose our minds.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's such a great feeling. World is about getting, you fill your cup back up. And we always talk about like that's the reason this job is so awesome is all these customers, and when they get excited about something you did, it's like the biggest emotional paycheck. So it's super awesome when that happens.
Yeah, I felt that way in some small way when everyone was laughing at that Chad character. So of course, fully in on the joke, trying to make you guys laugh with a crazy person. But yeah, no, you have to do that. You have to do that. It speaks to how do you fill back up your cup? It's by fulfilling the stuff that you're passionate about. Getting feedback on that, and I think that speaks so much to what you guys do. I wanted to right before we wrap up here, just show on the screen this QR code and the URL. So once again, solidworks.com/UX feedback 2024, or if you have a smartphone, you can point your camera right at that QR code. And it'll take you right to that survey. So you can set up a meeting directly with a member of the SolidWorks UX team. Kevin.
Awesome.
It's been great.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, anytime.
I hope you get some rest after this conference. I know you've been running around.
My kids are going to make me go skiing, so no.
And we have a robot passing by. But
sweet.
we are about to reveal the Model Mania results, the Model Mania winners with Jen Dirksen again. I'm sure you saw her on day one. So we will be there shortly. So stay tuned.
Welcome, everyone. I'm Jen Dirksen, and I'm excited to share the results of this year's Model Mania Challenge with you. Who tried it? How many of you out there tried it? Did you like it? Was it easy? Was it hard? Okay. All right, well, this year we're celebrating 25 years of Model Mania. The first Solidworks World was in 1999, and it didn't have a Model Mania Challenge. The organizer saw what was missing, and the following year in 2000, Model Mania was born. So technically this is our 24th anniversary of Model Mania, but we've had 25 models of Model Mania over the years, so we're kind of getting on that 25-year bandwagon and celebrating 25 years. So, as I mentioned, we have had 25 models over the years. These are our models that we have had. And as you can see, we started in 2000, and every year we have another challenging model. And because of past events, we had some virtual ones, and then also we even had 2 models last year, which gives us our 25th. So let's take a look. And also I wanted to say that this year we wanted to give you more opportunity to try out cloud services. And that was announced at last year's 3DEXPERIENCE World. And as of July of last year in 2023, we made this available with every seat of SolidWorks. So we wanted to expand the Model Mania booth this year, and we included 2 tables. We wanted you to try out cloud services with some of the X apps, such as X Shape. And we also wanted you to try out cloud services with some of the simulation apps. So hopefully you all got a chance to go and try that. So, without further ado, let's take a look at this year's challenge. So this was the phase 1 drawing. Now, for those of you who have never done Model Mania before, the way it works is it is a challenge. You are given a part that you need to create, and then just like in real life, we never get things right the first time, rarely, right? There's always revisions and changes that come down the road. And so once you're finished with phase 1 of the part, you move on to phase 2, which would be the revisions. So looking at this part, if I was to start designing this and creating this, I think I would start with the rectangular base and create that first. Then I would create the 2 circular bosses, and then move on to the rib, and then add all the fillets. So let's take a look at one way to do this. So here we are, we're logging into the Model Mania system here, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the top plane, draw a rectangle, add some dimensions, 80 by 30, and it has a thickness of 5 millimeters. Pretty easy so far. Next, we'll start sketching our round boss that's going to be on the top. Now, you didn't need to create both circles within this sketch. A lot of people did 2 separate sketches, but I like to try to put everything into one sketch to make changes easier down the line. So the outside circle is basically the outside of our boss, and the inside circle is the hole that goes through it. So we're going to go and give this a height of 20 millimeters as per the drawing, and then I'm going to reuse that same sketch, and we're going to create that hole that goes all the way through. Perfect. Moving on, let's start working on the second boss, the lower boss. So again, we'll draw a couple of circles, get this fully dimensioned. And the more dimensions and relations that you add, the easier it is to make changes down the road, because you just simply edit them and everything will update. So now we will extrude this using a mid-plane extrusion. You could also go up to surface or a variety of other ways to do this. We'll go and add our rib next. So we'll start our rib sketch. Now, a lot of people did a boss extrusion here. That was fine too. But the rib tool is really handy because you just draw a single line, and then it asks you what thickness do you want your rib to be, and it automatically extrudes up to next. Whatever happens to be there, it just keeps going till it hits something. Lastly, we'll go and add our corner fillets here of 8 millimeters, and we'll wrap up by putting all of our rounds onto our part, 2 millimeters everywhere. Now you could have also used a full round fillet here, that would have been fine. I chose to do 2 edge fillets. And we'll just go and put all of our fillets all the way around our part, and just one more on the top edge there. The last thing is, of course, you got to apply the material. Plain carbon steel, and then we go and grab the mass from the Mass Properties button and input it into our Model Mania program. So that's phase 1. At that point, you'll hear a bell. Ding, 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 ding. Time for phase 2. And then we quickly rush you phase 2 of the part. So this is what phase 2 looked like. So as you can see, we've got some changes here. Up at the top, it says phase 2, engineering change order. Increase upper boss size to be tangent with blue face, remove material as shown, and add 5 degrees of draft. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to start by editing that upper boss and make it tangent, as I said, remove the back area, and we'll add some draft. So let's see what that looks like. So continuing on, we're simply going to go and edit this sketch. We'll get rid of that 20 millimeter dimension and we'll make it tangent. Next, I'm just going to roll back and we're going to get rid of that face that's behind that boss. So I'll do a convert entities and we'll just cut it all away. Perfect. Now, of course, since we cut away the back area there, those 4 fillets weren't there, so we just need to get rid of those. So now we've updated that to just be referencing the 2 edges. And next, we're going to go and add our draft. Now, it's important to go before the rib, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But we're going to go and apply the draft 5 degrees everywhere to that top face. And the reason I didn't apply the draft to the rib is because the angle of the rib is not the same as all the other features. And I'll explain that in just a minute. So we needed to apply that 5 degrees there to make sure we get that right. And the last step is just to come back and edit that fillet and make sure that you get the other side, because now that it's tangent, it goes all the way around, we've lost that other edge and we need to pick that up again. We grab our mass, and there's our final answer, 201.62. So again, just to reiterate, it was important to make sure that the draft was done before the rib, because that height, right, that 15 millimeter height, it's not going to be 15 millimeters if you put the draft after the rib, because now it's going to be actually higher, because that angle is going to change. If you're confused, just come and talk to me after. I'll help you out. Okay, so these were phase 1 and phase 2. And let's just do our quick summary here again for the mass in case you're curious. So the mass of phase 1 was 155.58. The mass of phase 2 was 201.62. Now, you might be wondering, why the heck would anybody subject themselves to doing Model Mania? It's a lot of stress. You're sitting there. You're trying to get it done. There are actually some pretty good prizes. So in first place, our first place winners will get $500, second place $400, and third place $250. So let's see who our winners were. And I'm going to ask you to come on up and get your picture taken, and I have your prizes ready for you right now. So in third place, on the customer side, we have Victor Koyanov from Koyent Solutions. Come on up. Good job, Victor. Just stand over there. In second place, we have Arun Kumar Valley Sundaram from Twin City Fan and Blowers. Good job, Arun. And in first place, we have Prakash Chandrik Shakaran from Twin City Fan and Blowers. Congratulations. Great job, great job. Excellent time. Look at that time, under 8 minutes. That's incredible. All right. Now, we also have some winners from our resellers. Every year, we have 6 winners. We have 3 winners from our customers and 3 winners from our resellers. And to be honest, back in the old days, the resellers were always quicker, but now the customers are quicker. Good job, you guys. Okay, so our reseller champions. In 3rd place, Bjorn van den Broek from Cadmes. Great job, Bjorn. Great job. In 2nd place, Randy Simmons from Go Engineer. Randy, come on up. And in 1st place, again, Matt Kokoski from Trimex Solutions. Great job, Matt. Terrific job. Now, I have prizes for you all, and let's just bring up the winners here again. We're a little bit, oh, no, actually, we have some more time. So, again, congratulations to all of our winners. Please give them a round of applause. So for our 1st place winners, again, $500. There's your card, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
For our 2nd place winners, $400. That one's for you. Thank you very much. And 3rd place, $250. Whoops, wrong one. There we go. Thank you very much. Don't leave yet. Okay. Bjorn. Ooh, make sure I get the right one. 500. There you go. Oh, sorry. You're 250. There we go. 500 for you, sir. And I've got Randy's right here. So Randy, if you're out there, come and see me. And in addition to that, I wanted to give you all kind of a special prize here. Well, for our top winners anyways. Okay, so we've never done this before, but I wanted you to have a little souvenir. So you can take home the Model Mania drawing and the printed parts.
Okay.
So here you go.
Yep.
So there's phase 2.
Yeah.
There's phase 1.
Okay, thank you.
And then also, so you can show off to your friends what you've done.
Definitely. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you.
Maybe you never want to see them again, I don't know, but you can throw them away later if you like.
No, I won't forget these things. Thank you.
And the last thing is I'm going to give you a t-shirt. So, thank you. Wear this with pride. It's the same as mine, Model Mania, with the 25 on the back. No, you take it. I don't have another size.
Okay. Thank you.
There you go. And let's get a picture with all of our winners. Congratulations.
Hey, sorry.
Get away.
everyone. Welcome back to Live at 3D Experience World 2024. My name is Sean O'Neill, and I'm here with a good friend of mine, Kara Tucker. Kara, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Sean?
Good. We talk in these sort of general terms about how conferences are spaces to meet people all the time, right? You guys have heard me say that probably 20 times at this point on the stream. But true story, I met you last year as part of 3D Experience World 2023. And now you're here presenting on a technical topic for about the next 30 minutes or so regarding Solidworks. So that's a real life connection. Like I met you, I've talked with you numerous times over the past year or so. But yeah, that's something I can attest to. I know it's something you can attest to as well.
Yeah, Sean is a great friend.
Thank you.
We've really connected on a lot of different, in a lot of different areas of life. So that's been great.
Barely Solidworks.
Yeah, barely. Yeah, you're right, actually, now that I think about it.
There's some people, actually, we have a little bit of a little live audience here, just people kind of curious and watching. We have, a good bit of you here in the chat. This is my cell phone. I'm looking at it. If you guys have any questions on anything that Kara is about to talk about, or any questions for me or Kara, feel free to ask them in the chat. I'll be looking out for it. And hey, there's Pat. We are going to be looking at a little segment that Kara's put together. And Kara mentioned to me right before this part of the stream started that she has tons of tips on this topic, which is great. I think we can all relate to that. And we'll get as many in as we can, inclusive of some of your questions as well, before we have to head over to general session, which we are set to do around 1:15 Eastern time today. So, Kara, you're going to be talking about reverse engineering a bit. And
yes.
You're from Gibson Brands,
yes,
right? Gibson Guitars. We have actually a video on our YouTube exploring all around the Gibson garage. But yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're interested in today.
Today I'm going to actually just be giving a short presentation, as short as I can make it. And I'm zooming into a very particular workflow that my colleague Alex and I employ. And it's a little bit backwards from how you would typically expect in an industry like this. Typically, we see NURBS or lattice-empowered structures come in at the beginning of a process towards print creation. And we actually do that a little bit differently because of the way that our guitars are made and the way that we have a ton of elements post-machining that can't really truly be represented completely and perfectly in CAD, and trust me, I've tried. So there's a lot of fluidity with this. This is a process that's changed a little bit over the past few years, and my notes today are just from my observations as a CAD designer with Gibson, from how Gibson has really changed in the past few years.
Yeah, and one thing that you mentioned to me that really gave me perspective, I don't remember if it was yesterday or the day before when I ran into you. I've run into a couple times here, but you mentioned that it's not necessarily with these sorts of conversations, talks, presentations, whatever you want to call them. And I think you guys can relate to what I'm about to say. It's not so much that you're telling people like this is the be-all, end-all for a reverse engineering workflow or methodology. It's how you've done it, right? It's how you've done it. It's how you've come to think about it. It's tools you've used, and it may, in part or in whole, work for you or be instructive for you. So yeah, I thought that was a really great point you made.
Yeah, absolutely. And I attended a session on Monday with Darren Grosser. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Yeah, and he actually said something that was profound. He said it's important to choose your happy place, and that is really, really important. I think with any company, no matter where you go, everything you're doing is going to be super contextual, and so it's really important just to find what process works best for you. And so what I'm going to go into is what works best for us. And
awesome.
And I've really. It's been an interesting struggle, but I'd love to get started, so I'm going to go ahead and share this PowerPoint presentation.
Cool,
here.
Let's do it.
All right,
Looks
so
great.
Here's just, go ahead. And the agenda today, I'll just introduce myself, go ahead and give a focus and the current process.
Okay.
Give a little bit of a demo of a program called VX Model. It comes with our 3D scanner. It's a brand called Creaform, and some of the challenges we are currently facing, as well, and then as to finalized with the conclusion.
Sweet.
So about me, I am in a new product introduction role with Gibson. I started off as a CAD monkey, if you will, doing red lines. And when I came on, I realized that we had a PDM, but it wasn't really being maintained properly. And so over the past couple of years, I spearheaded better bookkeeping practices, and it took about a year, 2 years to actually get us in a process where all of our legacy data is very clearly, not clearly, but it's contained and recorded. And PDM is great in that it's a way to record any changes made to your documents. But what the biggest mistake that a lot of people think is that all of your files have to be perfect, and that's not the case at all. I think over the past few years, my colleague and I have learned it is important just to document any changes that you've made, no matter what, even if it's not finished. It's okay if it's messy. It's okay if it's chaotic. PDM is not meant to be restrictive. It's really meant for you to be able to use it as a tool.
I agree.
So, and then in my personal life, I am autistic. I'm ADHD. This informs pretty much every decision I make in my everyday life. I would consider myself curious, creative, and untethered. And
I would as well.
like those 3 words specifically?
Well, at least a couple, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, and then my current obsessions, there's a video game called Fall Guys. I really enjoy that. I also have been really fascinated with 3D EDM visuals. Like over in California, there's some crazy stuff that someone named Excision is doing crazy visuals right now. I love the shows Game Changer and Taskmaster, and I'm also, I have hyperfixated recently, like a good week or 2 weeks, on primordial cell evolution. As that's just a look into my mind.
Quick trivia.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention as we move on. Any questions you guys have in the chat, but also you guys who are looking at me right now, I have your full attention. There is a microphone that you guys can't see. It's watching on YouTube, of course. That's right off camera. If you have any questions, feel free to just step right up to the mic. I'll say, hey, what's your question? Let's talk. It's the first time we're kind of doing this, like a little bit of immersive back and forth. So just wanted to call that out as we go along.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean.
100%.
And on this presentation, I just wanted to point out the third picture, this pumpkin. This was a Halloween thing that Gibson did. We had 3 different competitions going on. The first one was a chili contest. The second was a costume contest, and the third was a pumpkin carving contest. And I actually took a lot of some rejected samples that we've received from suppliers, and I just mounted them onto this pumpkin and really just tried to carve it out, and I was really proud of that. And I won an acoustic guitar from that. I won an acoustic guitar. It was awesome.
That's
and then
so
the
cool.
last picture is just an example of a random, my kind of art. I really like that sort of abstract type. But anyway, that's a lot of information. I want to go ahead and get into the content, so
Awesome.
we're not taking too much time. So with Gibson brands, there are obviously, we have very many brands that are represented with Gibson. That includes Kramer, Epiphone, Mesa Boogie now, and KRK. Their speakers, which have been incorporated and renamed to Pro Audio. And for today's purposes, I wanted to focus exclusively on domestic divisions. So that is primarily our USA and custom factories. They're stationed in Nashville. And our Bozeman, Montana factory, that's actually up in Montana. And for most of the time, my colleague Alex and I work with custom shop builds, and we provide support to the other branches of Gibson as needed. So recently we've been doing a lot of acoustic support, and that comes down to like hot stamps on pick guards, whatever's needed. And today really is primary focus is where we end up doing limited runs where we'll have an artist model. Say for example, like any artist comes and they want to do a limited run, and Gibson tries to replicate that and then create a limited run for consumers. And that is where we get into more of the mesh to CAD workflow. And so Gibson has been 3D scanning necks. So necks are really the part of the guitar that include this complex geometry. And when I first started with Gibson, I made the inaccurate assumption that everything was symmetrical, and that is very far from the truth. There are plenty in the industry, in the guitar industry, there's several different profiles for guitar necks that are asymmetrical, and it's meant to be that way because of the differences in thickness on your bass side and your tenor side, and it's about playability for your consumers. So we really needed a better way to document all of this data. So several years ago, my coworker Darren DeBose, he started 3D scanning with a Creaform scanner, and the reason we have continued using this process is because it captures unique data, which is asymmetrical or complex and can't really be modeled in SolidWorks very easily.
Yeah.
It's fast as opposed to calipers or whatever you have. It's non-invasive. It is great for quality control. Recently, we did a scan of a guitar, our standard guitars and cases, because we've received a lot of feedback that several of our knobs are breaking when customers receive them after. So that's currently in process. We're evaluating that. We're trying to figure out what's going on there. And the software that comes with the scanner is extremely powerful. It's robust, it's fast, and it reduces a lot of work on our end as CAD engineers. And overall, the rate of return is immediate. It's extremely fast with everlasting benefits. So I've really been surprised by that scanner.
That's great information. And you mentioned that there were some aspects there that you didn't know about for example, the first thing you mentioned on that slide, the sort of asymmetrical nature of a lot of the guitars. That was something I definitely learned when I went to your garage, and I was surprised by that. And even as we kind of did cross sections of some of your models, I was like, oh, look at that. That's crazy.
Yeah. It's crazy. All right, so the next portion of this is when to 3D scan when a part cannot be reproduced with 2D sketches or images alone. That is pretty much what it boils down to. And the part usually can only be kept for a short time frame within the company, whether that means you have to return it to a supplier or a customer. And there are probably 3D scanning is great to figure out if there's assembly interference issues, like I mentioned before. And it's really good for us to overall keep a non-editable copy of the original data. So let's say, for example, we're asked to model an entire assembly, and obviously with CAD, there's always changes that happen. And so with scanning, it really gives us a locked body that really doesn't change for the most part. We'll clean it up a little bit. We'll clean the mesh up, and I'll show you some tools later. But it stays the same no matter what we do in our CAD. So I really like that. All right, so I mentioned that I wanted to go over the original flow for Gibson, and I want to just quickly go through this because I'm looking at our time now.
Sure.
But long story short, we have tried very many things to get our CAD to properly be represented in a final documented form. Originally, our machinists were in control of a lot of our data, and a lot of what we needed to know was living inside one of their heads. And that was like pre-2000s era. And when Gibson started trying to focus on better documentation, quality control, all that good stuff, we tried to transition to more of a CAD-controlled process. And so this is where we get into our first transitional stage from my point of view. This is very loose. It's not hard and fast. It's just from my point of view how we've
It's awesome to see this, though. This is so instructive, I'm sure, for so many people.
Yeah. And so from 2021 to 2022, we started trying to document the stage of the neck, specifically as it was machined and as it was final. And this was extremely tedious because we were scanning the same product twice. But we wanted to see how much really we could offload of our machinists. And truly, honestly, in this industry, when you give CAD files to a machinist, you want them to be plug and play. You don't want them to really have to edit or change anything after the fact. They just need to pop it in and go and machine it.
Sure.
And maybe change, route speeds, whatever they need
It
to.
makes total sense. I'm sure they're appreciative of that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do a lot to work with them as well. So this obviously wasn't working for us. And during the 2022 year to 2023, our priority began to reduce the NURBS adjustments post-CAD. So again, first priority, reduce the adjustments that our machinists were trying to make while also keeping the same level of detail. And this is where we reduced our scanning standard operating procedure from 2 scans to 1. And I know I'm going very quickly through this, but we really don't have that much time. So, and then where we're at now at this point in time is, originally we wanted to get rid of NURBS. We didn't really like that it wasn't parametric. And we realized that with our current process, the way that guitars are made, the way that our guitar necks are adjusted and tensioned after machining, there are so many factors that are at play, and that really boils down to human hands. And that's not something we can really replicate perfectly in CAD. I've tried. I have tried.
Interesting. Yeah.
And really the best way I could discuss how this happened is we separated our constraints on the drawing, so that the constraints I would explain are the 30 thousandths or 4 to 50 thousandths of fluff that needs to be added to the model, so that when human hands touch it, it comes down to final.
Got it.
So there are some constraints that we can do in the CAD file that we have been doing. So it's not a hard and fast rule that we don't worry about process. There are some bits of the process that do affect our product final design in the CAD files. But on the other hand, everything that's assembly dependent, we leave all of that up to our machinists and that particular factory, and they get to decide, hey, if we need to change this, we have the original CAD, we can change it, and it gives us the ability to go ahead and create print packages quickly. And so this is a process that's working really well for us, and it employs multiple aspects of CAD, which is NURBS and everything like that. And a lot of times, side note, a lot of times people really want to consolidate their CAD platform, and they want to just only use one. And to that, I would say it's not a good idea at all. Usually you're going to need like several different tools to do one job, and it's better to like have that balance.
Makes sense.
So yeah.
You're definitely getting some feedback in the chat. People saying that's awesome. Definitely some Gibson fans in here as well. So just wanted you to know that. It's getting some good feedback.
All right, that's awesome. Give me 1 second. I'm going to figure out what's going on here. Okay. All right. These are our most used commands within the VX Elements and VX Model platform. So Creaform is the scanner, and you do pay for the scanner once, and you never have to pay for any sort of calibration in the future. You do end up doing a subscription for customer support, though, and I highly recommend that. These commands are really important to us in the mesh, and reducing the amount of time we're dealing with geometry in the mesh form. And I will give you a demonstration of a couple of these commands. This is the fill holes command, and this is just a sample neck that I'm working with here.
Okay, so I guess, for example, when you're editing in a sort of mesh editor, like VX Model that you're showing here, essentially, so fill hole, is the intention to basically clean up the mesh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
There's several different commands on the toolbar up there. If you see, there's a clean mesh command. Just like that, I was able to fill that empty area with a surface and complete that hole. And then this is another part of the fill holes command. It's called bridging a gap.
Okay.
And this is really, really powerful. I love this tool. It's extremely important for us as well.
So essentially, so the scanner you guys have, is it is it like a handheld scanner?
It's a handheld scanner.
Okay, so a handheld
yeah,
scanner.
It's
so
called the HandyScan Pro Max.
Okay.
And it's a great tool. It's extremely, like honestly, I would. They haven't paid me to advertise at all, but I would recommend it to every company that needs to do reverse engineering like this. And so this is a hole where you need to actually create some reference geometry, and then you can go in and fill the hole after.
Awesome.
And great tool. And yeah, just couple more quick commands. This is clean mesh, sandpaper, and defeature. So the clean mesh tool actually gives us the ability to quickly reduce spikes and trying to get it to where it'll play. It may not let me fast forward.
Yeah, so I notice there's certain areas around that hole where it looks like for the most part, it's smooth, and then once it gets to the hole, it starts to get a little ripply looking.
Yeah, that's from where the wood is actually coming out.
Yeah, okay.
From where it's been machined. This command right here is called clean mesh.
Okay.
This is reducing spikes as I ask it to. So I get to control the intensity of the command for the most part. And then the next step is going to be, we only have, really need to go ahead and wrap this up, but this is the sandpaper tool. It's very, very powerful. This is the one tool that when I show people this, they are amazed and they're like, what? How did you do that? So
I mean, it's quite the command name as well. As soon as I saw on your list sandpaper, I was like, okay, but it's also, I'm guessing, it seems pretty illustrative of what it actually aims to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just a sandpaper in a digital format.
It's really awesome to see how you guys prep the meshes that you get from your 3D scans. This is something that I think is highly useful to a lot of people, right? But it's not always something you see getting demoed in great detail.
Right. And normally it is important because normally when we import stuff to SolidWorks, you want a solid body as much as possible. I'm going to skip to the next slide.
Okay.
And see what the most important data is here, because we're running out of time very quickly. I really think this is important to share. This is another view of the sandpaper tool and defeature, but this time I'm going to turn on the triangles.
Okay.
To where you can actually see the geometry and what's changing here.
Oh, wow.
Not yet, I mean, here in just a second.
It's pretty responsive, too.
It is, yeah. All right, here's the geometry that's happening. And the triangles are representing, obviously, the geometry underneath. And this is where I'm sandpapering away that crease, and you can see it adjust that model very quickly and easily.
So this is basically like the actual mesh data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, interesting. Awesome.
Yeah. So, really great stuff, really powerful commands. And I'm going to go ahead and skip to a very quick live demonstration.
Okay.
And in this particular model,
let's see, I think we've, so if we could show Kara's feed here within SolidWorks.
all right.
Yep, so we just switched to Kara's monitor, if we could switch that here. All right, let's see. Bear with us here. We're having a couple little AV issues here. Yep. So yeah, we're just looking to show the screen here. Yep. The live feed. But yeah, it's like I was mentioning, the extent to which that we show, for example, mesh inside of SolidWorks.
Yes.
You can bring mesh data in, but
that's what I wanted to show the most, because obviously this tool is only useful as far as your CAD, as far as it empowers your CAD users. And for CAD, we typically import manual surfaces we create inside this tool. We also import the reference geometry, including planes, splines, whatever ends up happening with that. And you can actually import cylinders, and it comes in as a cylindrical object. Thank you so much.
There you go. Thanks, Pat.
So this is an example of something that is almost at a final form, something that I would transfer to SolidWorks. And I've already transferred it here.
Cool.
But this is just the mesh itself. And I'm going to go back into VX Elements and say, hey, I kind of want to grab a couple of these cylinders that I forgot. And maybe, you know, a couple of cross sections that I want to transfer. And then I go over, transfer to SolidWorks, and it's going to reopen the SolidWorks file that I had open that was associated with this file. And I honestly don't know how this association works. It's kind of like magic. It's going to take a second. But once the...
That's what good software feels like, right? It's magic.
Once the part is created and saved, anytime you make adjustments to if you add new information, it gets added into SolidWorks.
It had a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like all those cross sections and different axes and planes.
Typically what we do is we will just go ahead and take this data. It's really great because in SolidWorks, if you've ever tried creating splines off of mesh, it's very, very heavy. If you try the slice command on a mesh, it's not, you're going to waste your time, basically. So these splines that are created to 5,000ths, so they actually are a smoother instead of like an exact representation of the geometry. So what we would do is just create a new plane, create a new sketch, and copy over the data, and then use that, and honestly change it to the smoothest splines we could possibly use. And sometimes that's Bezier curves, sometimes that's control vertices. So yeah, that is not a lot of time for questions, but I wanted to at least share this part of it because that's really what's going to affect all of our users.
No, this is perfect. Yeah. I mean, especially because a lot of times, right, at conferences like these, if you're attending a presentation like this, you're at the beginning, at least I've found in the sessions I've given, you find a lot of people at the beginning of a journey. They're in sort of an investigative stage at, you know, what are different companies doing with their specific products? Is there anything, like you said, like to me, is there anything that I could be taking away from this? There is one question. There is a question in the chat I wanted to get to. There's enough time, at least for this one.
Yeah.
So Prasad asks, he says, we have an XScan Pro at our office, which I'm not sure if you have any familiarity with, but any suggestions for upgrading, whether to go with textured cam or just the 3D scanner?
I don't know enough about that to give a proper answer.
Yep. I see Sean asking, or Sean Talley, not Sean, me. Another great tool for mesh editing is GeoMagic DesignX. It allows you to create fully textured parametric CAD models, exportable to a variety of CAD native formats. So there we go. Another tip in the chat. That's awesome. That's great to see. So I noticed on the SolidWorks model here, I wanted to call this out, and you had actually called it out. The cylinder, so cylinders, and then I noticed through the sketch feedback that it is actually making splines, because when I looked at it, I was like, okay, it looks like some lines and then maybe some actual arcs, but it speaks to the surface topology. So that's we have a question. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering if you have any tips or tricks on actually how to get a very good scan in the first place, just to try and get that mesh as clean as possible so your cleanup is reduced.
That's a great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. The tips and tricks on how to clean up the mesh as much.
In the scan,
right.
Like trying to get as clean a scan as possible.
During the scanning process.
The scanning process.
Absolutely. The best tips and tricks I could give for this is, and Creaform will do training with you on this. They recommend start off in the very center, face down, on the assembly. Obviously, you're going to have your dots that represent three-dimensional space that it can tag to. And as you scan your surfaces, always come back to the middle and then keep going out, because usually what's going to happen is the tolerances are going to get further and further away from the actual representation, and you want to come back to your home almost as if you're telling it, hey, I'm going to scan this area, and this is, I'm back where I started. So you're constantly going out, coming back, going out and coming back as much as possible. And I would also say that usually if you have very glossy surfaces, it's great to try to put like a powder on them to make them not glossy, or turn down your resolution. And the resolution on the scanner ranges from about I would say the operable range, it starts at 0 and then goes up to about like 3, I think. And for darker meshes, so for shaded areas that, like in this particular model, it would have been the truss rod access. That area is darker, so you have to turn up the resolution. But for lighter areas, like a white, solid opaque white, turn it down as much as possible and you're going to get the best results.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad we had a question and a great answer. Well, Kara, I think we are about to start general session.
All right.
I just wanted to thank you so
Thanks
much.
so much,
This
Sean.
was so awesome to have you here. I'm glad I made a friend in Nashville. I'm glad we're able to be here and do this and educate you guys. Everyone give a +1 in the chat for Kara. We're about to head to general session. Quick reminder, right after general session, we will be taking an extended look at Solidworks 2025, what we've previewed within the general sessions. And yeah, we can't wait to see you there. But please enjoy the keynotes, enjoy Paddy Lowe, once again with an extended conversation there, the community awards, all that we have here in general session. But yeah, stay tuned. That's coming up next.
Please welcome Tracy Wilson.
Good afternoon, and welcome to our closing general session. I hope you all had an amazing time at Gillies last night. I mean, yeah, I'll take the woohoo. And I know I don't have to ask because I saw you there. I know how much fun it was. And I was thinking, who needs a mechanical bull when you have a machined bull from the shop floor? Shout out to the shop floor. Amazing, beautiful. Well, this event is full of opportunities to up-level your skills, but it is also a celebration of a passionate community. So to learn more about some of the amazing initiatives in our community, please welcome Vice President of Strategy and Community, Suchit Jain.
Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? Well, awesome. Wow. So welcome to the final day at 3D Experience World. These past days have been a showcase of passion and innovation. Today, we celebrate Solidworks and 3D Experience platform supporting innovators at every stage, from the classroom to the cutting edge of industry. Now, speaking of classroom, we have just a few students here. So our students, can you please stand up? Guys, workforce of the future. Workforce of the future is right here. Thank you. So as we explore the paths of students, educators, makers, startups, professionals, we are reminded that our software is more than just a tool. It is a constant companion in the quest to shape a better world. So let's welcome our next guest. He is the Director of Research and Technology at Innovation Center at Brandeis University. He embodies the essence of today's focus, bridging the gap between technology and academia. As the founding head of Brandeis Maker Lab and also a professor at the Brandeis International Business School, he is also the pioneer behind Brandeis's inaugural engineering course. Please welcome Ian Roy. Ian.
Thanks, Suchit.
Love the color and love the suit. Amazing.
Brandeis bold. So,
Ian, your journey has been amazing. It's a mix of technology and a lot of other things. So tell us a little bit about what you've been doing.
thank you. So Brandeis was founded on a mission of social responsibility and trying to make a social impact through inclusion in 1948. And I am a product of Brandeis, graduating in 2005. And after I graduated, I got my first job in the jewelry industry in Los Angeles, where I learned about CAD and CAM through the Solidworks platform. Here's a picture that I took of how to tie a bowline knot with a $100,000 necklace. But Los Angeles chewed me up. I believe in mistake-driven learning because I've made some terrible mistakes, prompting a total life reboot in 2010. But my journey really started in 2013 when I founded the Research Technology Department, and it really accelerated a year later when I led the team that built the Brandeis Maker Lab, one of the first maker spaces in liberal arts higher ed. Our first hackathon focused on 3D printing to help someone who has a disability. And we're now running the longest 24-hour social impact hackathon in higher ed, Dice Hacks, where we work on real-world problems from nonprofits local to Waltham, Massachusetts, right next to the Dassault North American.
I've been there so many times.
Growth happens at the edge of your comfort zone, and the best way to heal yourself is to help others. We built this into coursework. The concept of design to repair the world has become the spine of our new engineering department that just started this past fall. Future faculty may take this in the direction of solving water problems or refugee crisis. But we're starting with the eNable prostheses platform and other open source assistive hardware as a lens to teach CAD and CAM through design thinking.
So, right. So, Ian, your work is spanning, intersection of science, humanities, business. So these diverse disciplines are coming together. So how are you putting it in your teaching and projects you do?
Our interdisciplinary nature at Brandeis is, I think, our main competitive advantage. We're an R1 research university smushed together with a liberal arts college. And we want the artist sitting next to the scientist, sitting next to the business person, all seeing different opportunities for innovation. We believe that the future of work is very multidisciplinary, and we believe that diversity is the solution to complexity. It will take the myriad of human experience to see around corners and solve the challenges of the next century. A quick example from one project. Our support in drone prototyping, from little FPV racing drones up to big surveys that we do for archaeological fieldwork. I've been lucky enough to go on 6 archaeological digs to support 3D scanning of material culture and using drones for large-scale terrestrial survey and mapping. This is a Homeric site in central Greece where students from classics and anthropology are using computer science and engineering tools to understand the business of ancient trade networks. We have built a curriculum to teach not just drone prototyping, but also licensing and operation all over the world. And the latest manifestation of robotics on campus has been led by the head of our automation lab, Tim Hebert, who's coaching our robotics team's deep dive into 3-pound battle bots at Norwalk Havoc Robotic League. I want to especially thank our students, Vincent and Daniel, from neuroscience and psychology majors for their help with the bot cage all this week.
That is amazing, and I'm sure a lot of the people saw what you did at the playground with the bots fighting.
Hopefully you all got to drive a little bit.
Yep. So Ian, thanks a lot. amazing work at the intersection of technology, business, humanities, and a lot of other things. So congratulations, and we'll see you at Brandeis.
Thanks for having the team here.
Thank you. Now let's turn to another innovator, Brent Bushnell, CEO and roastabout of 2-Bit Circus. Brent is at the forefront of reimagining entertainment, masterfully blending immersive technology with social interaction to create unparalleled engineering fun. Brent, he's already here.
Howdy, sir.
He's a magician too, he appears.
Nice to see you, Suchit. Thanks for having me.
You probably, people who've been at 3D Experience World, Solidworks probably saw Brent. He's an amazing guy, amazing speaker, but it'll be very quick and short today. So Brent, tell us how and what you are doing and how SolidWorks is being used in what you're doing.
Thanks, Suchit. Yeah, you know, my co-founder and I are both engineers, big nerds that have been building with lasers and fire and robots for years. We built what we call a micro amusement park in the middle of downtown LA. This is a photo of it you can see on the projector. Half a city block with interactive games, a whole carnival midway, robot bartenders, and we built about half the stuff in there. And we did it with SolidWorks. We did it with, you know, we're modeling, we're router, you know, cutting things out of router tables with router tables and electronics programming. It's a ton of fun. But one of the things I'm most excited about is something we launched today, our open source arcade cabinet. If you were in the Maker Zone, you saw it. It's an incredible solution for a student to be able to download and cut their own arcade cabinet, configure the software, configure the game, which is a fun STEM and STEAM learning experience all on its own. But imagine you then take a credit card payment processor. That student can take it out to a laundromat, out to a cafe, and all of a sudden it's earning passive income for them. So this is, you know, unlike selling a candy bar or anything else, they're out there being able to make money for their community, for their makerspace. We're super excited. All the files are open source. We think it's going to be really cool and it's perfectly a fit for Fab in the Box.
Fab in the Box, so we'll talk about it. But thank you, Brent. It was short and quick.
Yeah.
But thank you for what you're doing out there. Arcade is amazing.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. So as Brent mentioned, let's quickly talk about Fab in a Box. Let's revisit this initiative we introduced last year, Fab in a Box. This project is a collaborative effort with Fab Foundation and MIT's Center for Bits and Atoms. It continues to push the boundaries of digital fabrication and education. Now, what started as a Fab in a Box, well, it's really a Fab in a cart now. This low-cost, easy-to-use Fab Lab starter kit includes a laser cutter, vinyl cutter, and a 3D printer, all on a custom mobile cart. Now, the best part is it comes with XDesign software, which we are tailoring to allow a seamless transition from CAD to machine control. And best of all, curriculum is all included in there. So the kit will teach educators how to use it with their learners. Stop by Fab Foundation's booth. Well, you probably have already done so to see the cart built. You might be able to build a balsa wood glider in there and learn more about the project. In the future, you will see learners empowered to fabricate not just do projects, but also with machines that make them, right? So you'll be able to make machines in using these kinds of kits. Check out an example at the playground. It's a selfie machine built from a kit of parts optimized by researchers at MIT's Center for Bits and Atoms. So projects and collaborations like this make digital fabrications more accessible to all. So we are excited, really excited, to teach STEM skills vital to this 21st century workforce and empower young learners to turn their ideas into reality. What do you guys think, especially the teachers? So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about our community. It is clear that the essence of our success lies within this vibrant community. It is heart of our ecosystem. The SolidWorks User Group Network and the SolidWorks Champions Program are prime examples of this passion and dedication in action. So it is my pleasure to now invite Dan Wagner and Matthew Clegg to the stage. Come on up, guys.
What's up, Suja?
Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
You know, Mike, usually people who know Mike, he has the Bono look with his glasses, but today's the tie, right?
And the socks.
And the socks. And the
Good
socks. I'm wearing my red socks too. I don't know if you noticed.
I did.
So Dan, let's start with you. What's new with the Solidworks User Group Network?
Yeah, for sure. We had an awesome year last year. 2023 was filled with amazing SolidWorks community events all over the world. And I'm excited to say today that we finished the year with more active groups than ever before. 150 groups, 36 countries held a meeting last year. A lot of those folks are here today, which is awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
We added nearly 50 groups to the network as well, which was just amazing. Epic keystone events like Iron Swug, Slug Me, the West Michigan Lakeshore Summit. These were amazing events. In West Michigan, Sucha, we had 200 people. So you were
there. I was there, I remember.
In person, full day, technical event. It was awesome. We encourage every SolidWorks user, you should join your local group, engage with this incredible network of SolidWorks enthusiasts. Wherever you are, this network is stronger than ever before.
So I know this all is great, and earlier this week you had the Swagin Summit.
We did.
And you gave away some awards, right?
We did. Monday night, yeah, some awesome people on this slide, and in keeping with tradition, we saved the two very most special awards for today with everybody. So without any further ado, the Michelle Pillars Community Award goes to Adam Ebernecker.
Woo!
Adam, please stand up. Congrats,
Amazing
Adam.
job, Adam.
Thank you,
Nice
Adam.
job. And finally, the Wayne Tiffany User Group Leader of the Year Award goes to Prasad Adiga from India.
Woo!
Nice job, Prasad.
And I know, you know, it's not that late in India, right? It's
Not that late. I'm sure he's
11 in
watching
the
on
night
YouTube
or
right
whatever
now.
like that. So he's probably watching us, right?
Yep, congratulations.
Well, thank you, Dan. Matt, let's turn to you. You know, what's new with the Influencer and Champions program?
Well, thanks, Suchit. I'm thrilled to share a few of our most memorable achievements, and let's start off with influencers.
Okay.
The Power Loader. Pretty cool.
Pretty awesome.
The SolidWorks Influencer Program is a vibrant global community of 17 YouTube influencers who use SolidWorks to bring their ideas to life.
Well, so you see up on the screen, Ben and Bogdan are here from Hacksmith Industries. They brought in their incredible machine. I'm sure a lot of you have seen them, and they brought it all the way from their research facility in Ontario, Canada. So tell us more about that.
So the incredibly creative team at Hacksmith has indeed brought their power loader here with thousands of engineering hours, fabrication hours, created this fully functional replica, all designed in SolidWorks. Standing at 11 feet tall, this hydraulic mech has 13 degrees of freedom and can easily pick up and tear apart a car. I'm happy to say we used a pallet. No one's car got damaged today if you saw it. This machine is awesome.
So the John Paulo's car is safe, right?
Safe. It is, yes.
Okay.
And now for the SolidWorks Champions program. We acknowledge and connect community members from around the world who go above and beyond in sharing their SolidWorks passion and expertise.
Well, so speaking of expertise, how do you really measure the expertise?
Certification is how we do that, and I'm proud to say we have 464 certified SolidWorks professionals and 239 SolidWorks experts.
That is,
yeah.
Woo! Impressive.
Thank you.
Impressive.
It's time for us to announce another community award winner, someone who has made substantial contributions to our global community tracing back to 1996. That's right. To this day, he serves as the master part template for all SolidWorks community members, welcoming, technically formidable, and tirelessly helpful.
So tireless, right? How tireless? I know the person. I know he doesn't sleep, or maybe he does. Yeah.
All we know is the 2023 SolidWorks Champion of the Year has single-handedly answered over 4,000 user-generated questions within our 3D Swim digital communities over the last 8 years. Some say he delicately whispers passages from the latest What's New in SolidWorks release notes while he sleeps. All we know is he is called Eric Beatty.
Eric Beatty.
Woo! Eric! Eric!
Thank you, Eric.
So thank you, Dan and Matt, what you do for the community, inspiring the whole team. Thank you for leading it.
Thank you, Sucha.
Thanks,
Great,
Sucha.
guys.
Thanks,
Thank
everybody.
you. Thank you, Eric. So through Solidworks certification, we have empowered over 800,000 professionals, enhancing their careers and meeting industry demands. In 2023 alone, we issued 100,000 certification. So now let's give a special shout out to all the certified users in the audience today and everywhere across in streaming, whomever they're listening. Guys, let's give them a big, big round of applause. Your dedication and skills are driving innovation and excellence in our industry. Now, speaking of dedication and innovation, I have a very special story to share about our dear colleague and worldwide certification director, Mike Puckett, a story that intertwines innovation, hope, and the power of community. So let's welcome Mike Puckett and Dr. Robert Coker from Neurolutions. Rob, Mike. So Mike has been instrumental in making SolidWorks certification the industry standard. Now his journey took a little bit of a turn, an unexpected turn. 6 months ago, he had a stroke. So this story is very interesting because a month ago, I was at CES, and I reached out to Mike. We invited him for the team dinner. He came in, and he was very happy to be there. Mike, but I know you had a mission you've mentioned so many times to me.
Yeah, back when I was in the hospital, I couldn't even speak. I would just mumble. But I knew that I had a goal that I wanted to be here in Dallas, to be here at 3D Experience World. And so as far as I say now, that my goal has been achieved since I am here. And I have more to do, but I have still more to go.
Yep. Mike. So that evening at the dinner table, I observed that Mike was eating with his left hand, and I know he's a right-hander, so he had some limited mobility because of the stroke in his hand. That's that. So next day, I was walking around with my good friend Abhishek, who runs our startup program. We were walking around the booths, and we came across Neurolution, this company which was doing something, with a headset for the stroke victims for regaining mobility in their hand. So right away, I called. You guys talked, right, on the phone?
Yes. Yep.
Right that day.
Or we tried. I couldn't speak much, but yes.
Yeah,
yep.
no,
a little bit, yep.
And it was awesome because I connected these two, and they've been working together since then. Mike, you maybe want to share where you are so far on that?
Yeah, my journey is, my recovery has gone so fast and so well that the device doesn't work anymore for me because I got better. So, but the device that you guys are doing would have helped me back then. So,
yes. So talking about the device, the IPSI hand system, right? Tell us a little bit more about that, Rob.
Sure. Unfortunately, Mike isn't alone. There are 450,000 people in America every year and many more worldwide who can't use one of their hands after a stroke. There's a natural healing process that occurs, and rehabilitation can certainly help it. But there's a narrow window. It's about 6 months before they hit a plateau after that stroke, and where additional rehab really isn't going to help them anymore. And that's where the IPSI hand comes in. The FDA cleared the IPSI hand in 2021 as a de novo and breakthrough technology with clinical evidence. For those who aren't intimately familiar with FDA jargon, I'll translate that for you. 1, there's nothing like it. And 2, it's been proven to work. And further, I'll add. It's been proven to work on people as Mike hits that 6-month mark. There are a lot of people who aren't in nearly as good a shape as Mike is, and it works for those people because the clinical trials were all with people who had had their stroke 6 months or longer, sometimes many years before.
So yeah, tell us a little bit more about how the system works.
Sure. There's a principle in neuroscience that we're exploiting. It's called Hebbian learning, and I'll give you the simplified version of that. It's that neurons that fire at the same time, fire together at the same time, they wire together. So what the Ipsy hand does is we have a therapy regimen. It's like an exercise program. We ask the user to imagine using their affected hand. We measure their brain signals with an EEG headset. We can tell when they are wanting to move, but their hand doesn't work. So we move it for them with an exoskeletal glove and a pincer grasp. It's your basic hand motion. But that process of over and over again thinking about it, your brain firing, and the hand moving at that same time causes that rewiring to occur, so the hand is then reconnected with healthy parts of the brain.
So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, and after a few weeks, so after actually several weeks of using that process, the hand, the whole arm, in fact, tends to just work a lot better.
That is amazing. So now let's talk about Solidworks a little bit, right? You've been using Solidworks for a while, so tell us a little bit more.
Sure. You can tell from the timeline, it can take a long time to get a new innovative medical product to market. We have used Solidworks from the beginning. From the very first units we made used in the first clinical trials, evolution of that, a redesign, an evolution of that to where we are today, and looking forward to a further redesign in the future. We've just used Solidworks that whole time, and it's helped us immensely, from whether that's that ideation or concept phase to actually building the thing out to tweaking it for manufacturability. It's worked for all the phases. I mean, it's not an exaggeration, Suchit, to say that because of Solidworks, we can do what we do.
It is amazing. You know, Solidworks helped them build the solution. Now this solution will help Solidworks people. Amazing, guys. Let's give them Neurolutions a round of applause. You know, this story really exemplifies how our work goes beyond software. It's about empowering people like Mike and countless others like Mike. Solidworks, of course, isn't a tool for creating products. It's a platform that enables innovations that transforms lives. So thank you, guys. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
So guys, remember that our collective passion and creativity makes this community extraordinary. Keep innovating, keep inspiring, continue shaping the future with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Suchit. Thank you. And a big congratulations to all the Solidworks Community Program Award winners. And Mike, I gotta say, it is great to see you up on stage. Let's give Mike a round of applause, please. That was fantastic. Continued awesome healing to you, Mike. And now to interview our final special guest, please welcome industry process consultant, 3DEXPERIENCE Works, and co-host of the Live Desk, Jesse Sprague.
Well, it's wonderful to see Mike here, isn't it? It's my pleasure to introduce our next speaker. 32 years in Formula One, not just a long career though, a storied one as well. Williams, McLaren, Mercedes, from slaying giants with limited resources in the early days of Williams to complete dominance with the Mercedes team. He's been a part of 12 championship-winning teams, 7 drivers, 5 constructors, 10 Race Car of the Year awards. Since then, he's gone on to found Zero Petroleum, a synthetic fuel company that aims to revolutionize the way that we use internal combustion engines. I'm speaking, of course, about Paddy Lowe. Paddy?
Jesse.
Well, Paddy, for the next 2 to 3 hours, I'll ask you every question I can think of off the top of my head. I'm kidding. Try to stay on topic.
Everybody's got a cup of tea or something to settle in.
Yeah.
Great.
But
so many engineers in one room.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
So many engineers. Where do we even start, though, with a story like that? You know, we've talked about AI a couple times throughout this conference, and just out of curiosity, I asked ChatGPT to define you in one sentence, maybe. Well, first, actually, I asked it to define me in one sentence, and it said, do something noteworthy. I don't know who you are. But I just had to make sure it was calibrated, and it was. But then I asked it to describe you in one sentence. Let me read this. It said, Paddy Lowe is a pioneering engineering visionary whose mastery of Formula One technology has reshaped the landscape of motorsport.
Wow.
Put that on a plaque in your office.
Nobody's read that to me before. That's terrific.
Cool? So that's,
yeah, we'll have
that's
to
what
get that off you.
Global intelligence thinks of it.
Thank you. Thank you, ChatGPT.
Yeah. So let's start off then from the beginning, I guess. How did you get from young Paddy to the point where you're being described as, you know, revolutionizing the landscape of motorsport as we know it?
Well, I mean, interesting question, because you meet people who say, I knew at the age of 6 I wanted to be president or whatever.
Yeah.
My whole career has been really just organic. I never knew what I was going to do more than a year ahead. So that was the case with Formula One. That was the case actually with our new company, Zero.
Yeah.
So I've just made the best of every opportunity. Always looked to the next rung, but not seen 10 rungs above. So I think that's an important point for people to understand, because people often think you should have this grand plan. It certainly wasn't needed in my case.
Yeah, I think I've heard you say that a friend just mentioned to you in a pub or something, hey, you should apply to Formula One, and off you sent. Yeah, amazing. I would expect that people would think that someone who's been, such an icon in the sport, that's what you always wanted to do. But it was the door opened, and
I was a petrol head, so there was a good sort of basis.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that is interesting. I like what you said, though, that you don't necessarily have to have a master plan. I mean, you were amazingly successful by just going through an open door.
Yeah, and it's about taking every opportunity and giving it 110%.
Yeah.
I think that's really important.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, maybe let's give the people what they want. Should we talk Formula One for a little bit?
Yeah.
All right. So you started at Williams, of course, early days, right? Moved on to McLaren and to Mercedes, as I kind of outlined at the beginning. Is there, maybe I'm thinking early days, because that's maybe the easiest place to think, but you guys worked on the car with active suspension, right? The Williams, the FW14B with active suspension. There was traction control. You essentially invented DRS when DRS wasn't a thing, right? Drag reduction system, of course. Is there, one particular challenge that stands out? I know 32 years is a lot to comb through, but is there something that stands out that was a particularly fun challenge to solve?
I mean, there are these projects which are so exciting, and you mentioned quite a few of them. I can mention a few more, but and I will. But what's so interesting is it's actually the platform that's been so important. So traction control, great example. When we put that on the car, it was worth 1 second of lap time, and I mean, in Formula One terms, that's a championship actually, in its own right. And I'll tell you, it was one line of code in the software. I know that because I wrote it. Yeah. But what enabled it was a platform to have that computer that worked, in which you could put that line of code, to have a means of measuring speed of wheels, and that was very new back then. We're talking 1991, 92.
Yeah.
A simple thing of measuring toothed wheels was in its infancy to do cleanly.
Like Hell effect kind of stuff.
And actually networking to tell the engine computer to cut cylinders. Yeah. So this was a very constant theme in everything that we've done has been building that platform. And the same even true with what we're doing in Zero. So creating that infrastructure that allows you to innovate and deliver.
Yeah, that's interesting because that, as you're saying that, that kind of throws back to what we were just talking about, like almost on a personal level. It's being ready to go when you're ready to go, right? It's not necessarily the actual thing that happens. The result is a result of a lot of
I hadn't thought of that,
legwork.
Jesse, but that's a great connection because it just as a human being, as an engineer, as a leader, I mean, you know, moving forward, we're all leaders and it's about building that leadership ability and it's about taking the opportunities and taking risks.
Yeah.
But you build it from a platform of your own personal sort of strength and integrity and your ability to want to take on that risk. So that's the platform in a very human sense.
Yeah, we were talking a little bit about working around design challenges when we were speaking at the desk this morning, and that was a fun conversation. I enjoyed that. One of the things that we didn't get a chance to talk to was, you know, I was thinking there's a lot of design challenges, but there's a lot of variables too, right? There's a driver involved. You just mentioned that your traction control was worth a second a lap, but I think I remember Damon Hill was your test driver, right?
Yes.
I think I remember you or him saying at some point that he took it out and kind of went around the lap and said, I don't like this. I don't think it's working at all. And then
Absolutely.
I think he looked at the timesheets and said, well, it was a second a lap faster, so something's going right.
Yeah, that's the story. Yeah, absolutely true.
Yeah, so it's kind of an interesting combination of, you know, the actual hardware stuff and then also combining with a human element, really no matter what you do, right? Whether it's yourself in the design or also designing to the human who's driving the car.
Absolutely.
In this case.
Yeah, and we were the first in McLaren to bring in the driver in the loop simulator. So this was the first way to try and hook those things together because a human being, that the driver is the last component in the car. He's the controller.
Yeah.
And very complicated piece of kit with many levels. There's the actual control task, but then there's all the strategy and all the instrumentation. And the driver in the loop simulator attempts to kind of bring that together and help you understand those connections, which we did. And actually 2008, which was Lewis Hamilton's first championship victory, drivers, we call that the first simulator assisted championship was that one.
Wow. You mentioned Lewis Hamilton. You were at the reins for his first 53 victories. Is that correct?
Sounds like you remember better than me, but something like that.
I think not a good memory. I think I recently read that on the internet somewhere.
That was across McLaren and then Mercedes.
Yes. Yeah, Lewis Hamilton, obviously the winningest driver right at this point. So amazing achievement alongside of him. And drivers are, of course, they get all the limelight, but without you, if they don't have a fast car to drive.
They're very important, and I imagine if we had a Q&A, people would be saying, is it the driver or the car?
Yeah.
Always get asked that.
Yeah.
I sat in an event very like this, maybe even a bit bigger, 6,000 I think there were, and somebody asked that from the audience, and I said 50-50, which is my normal answer.
Yeah.
It does, it depends. You need both, ultimately.
Yeah.
And Lewis Hamilton was on the panel with me, and he looked at me like, what are you talking about? It's all down to me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there are some differences of opinion, but I suppose ultimately the driver wins because even if you have the very, very best car, totally dominant car, if you don't have a good driver, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yet the opposite, if you have a terrible car and a great driver, you're not winning. So
yeah.
I'm going to hand it to the driver ultimately with 51%.
Okay, 51. That's the final tally.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the things that I want to ask you is you, throughout your career from beginning to end, at least as we know it, you've been really good at adopting new technology. As SolidWorks users here, we have a whole line of new tools, or new to us tools, I guess, coming through with our platform. We have, just as individual people, we have AI. I just mentioned ChatGPT, all of these things. It seems to be like an explosion of new tools. I would love to hear from you if there's some particular philosophy or mindset or something that you've used to be able to adapt tools or identify what is going to be helpful for you.
I wouldn't say there's any set pattern there. But as I mentioned earlier, around capability, it's really important. I'll come back to that. I do recommend, not just for me, but for the information, the piece we did earlier.
Yeah.
That will be on the video where we talked about constraint. And Formula One is a set of constraints, and our constraint drives innovation. So that's really worth watching. I can recommend that.
I like
It's a
you
great
plugging our
chat.
own content. That's
good.
It's on the live YouTube channel. Follow along.
But it comes back to this capability, the platform, and this is a genuine insight into how we drove the team in those periods of success that you mentioned earlier, Jesse. So I did this both in McLaren and in Mercedes. Is you're understanding that point that how do you win races? You need a quick car, but actually a quick car is a consequence of a capability. And a platform when it includes, the innovation, the team, the people, as well as the technology and the tools that they use, which you're constantly developing.
Yeah.
So the lap time is a consequence of your capability. So as engineers, we should always be pushing to improve what we do, rather than just turning the handle. What is the way to make my job more efficient, delivering cheaper, better product, or doing it quicker? That's your capability. Mm-hmm. But don't even relax at that point, because even if you're developing capability all the time, you can be doing it quite slowly, and then you're in R&D, you're in, that's almost an academia type of profile.
Yeah.
So no, you've got to improve your capability quicker than everybody else. So you're making your systems better, your platform better at a higher rate than your competitors.
Yeah.
And this is very, very much how we worked in Formula One. If we were losing to Red Bull, we need to be designing our capability to churn out performance at a higher rate than they are.
Yeah.
And those are two derivatives in there if you're a mathematician.
You need to be getting better at getting better faster than they are.
Exactly. And that's the mindset. And if there's one thing you might take away from today, it's just think that, that is a genuine philosophy that we drove into every engineer in the team, is think about, what improvement are you going to make, and how can I make that improvement twice as quickly?
Right. Leave it to a Formula One engineer to apply calculus to professional development.
Yes.
That sounds about right. I'm going to skip forward a little bit. So there was, you've mentioned that Formula One is kind of a display of energy, and you're now moving into energy itself, right, with your new company. Was there a point in time that you realized that it was energy itself that was actually really interesting to you, or has that just always been the case?
That's a fascinating question. I'm just going to quickly explain what a synthetic fuel is for everybody.
Please.
So our company is called Zero. We make synthetic fuel, and sometimes that's called electrofuel or e-fuel or power to liquids. And essentially, it's a circular process. So we're making hydrocarbons, so gasoline, jet fuel, diesel fuel, just like we have today, but rather than digging it up, you're making it from hydrogen from water and from carbon dioxide from the air. So it's a completely renewable process. So very, very exciting, and I'll leave it there for the minute. But energy, and these fuels are all about energy. It was only a realization actually when we'd set the company up, Zero, and I was sort of clocking through, well, why have I done this? Why did it excite me? And I started to express that, Formula One is actually a display of energy, sound, glowing brakes, dynamics in motion, that's the drama. If you take me to an air show, I don't want to look at little sort of aerobatics and things. All I want to see is the reheat on a fast jet. That's the only thing that interests me. I went to the Kennedy Space Center a couple of years back, and the only thing I wanted to look at was the F1 engine itself, these things, and just some stats to throw out. I don't know if you know that. The fuel pump on one of those 5 Saturn V engines, just one fuel pump on one engine is 55,000 horsepower.
Wow.
So to just give us an idea of scale. I love that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, energy is the thing. And, you know, it's just very nice to turn around, you know, be moving now into creating that feeling of sustainable delivery of energy. I think, if I'm honest, from the minute I rode my first motorbike at age 17, there's always been this thing of fossil fuels being finite. They're running out, and now they're causing other problems. And I really look forward, and it's just not many months away that I'll put a sustainable, fully sustainable fuel in my motorbike or car and feel the joy of that, knowing that, you know, this is can be made indefinitely without any impact.
I wondered that before I met you this morning, and in talking to you, I'm really enjoying your approach of there is some enjoyment in it, you know, because I think the internal combustion engine is kind of a special device. You know, it's a very emotional device. People have a very emotional connection to it. It's kind of a living and breathing thing. It's almost more human than it is a mechanical device. I think a lot of people are connected to it. I'm certainly one of them. So it's really exciting to me that you're, you know, working on these solutions that can keep that going, sustain that in a responsible way. It gets me worked up sometimes, you know, thinking that my kids could not hear the sounds that some of these things make. I think I'm literally getting choked up about it. I think there's an interview with Lewis Hamilton somewhere along the way a couple years ago that he's, you know, mid-sentence and Alonso's V10 or V12 or something goes by and he just stops, his eyes goes as big as saucers. And he says, that's the greatest sound in the world, which is kind of a famous clip now. But there's a lot of us that are just so connected to these devices that I thank you from the bottom of my heart for working on technologies that can keep those around for the foreseeable future. I really do.
Thank you, Jesse. Well, I think it's interesting. Thank you, everyone. No, thank you so much. I mean, you know, it's a totally new venture. It's a very big space to fill against, you know, an established industry. Yeah. So thank you for your support and the applause. That's really very, very heartening. But yeah, engines. I mean, you know, we all love fire. I think that's sort of a human thing, isn't it? Yeah. And we love engines. So we love the old V10 in Formula One, and you know, maybe that can come back one day.
That'd be amazing.
But the thing is, it's not just about emotion. By the way, you know, the internal combustion engine is here to stay. You cannot electrify everything. You just simply can't. I won't. You know, it's all about energy density. You can ask me afterwards, but it's all about energy density. So aircraft, not least, have to remain on liquid hydrocarbon fuels almost indefinitely. So you know, we get the emotion, and we need it anyway. We need it anyway.
Yeah, certainly. Well, we are closing in on the end of our time. I skipped about half of my questions as expected. But Paddy, it has been an absolute pleasure talking with you this morning, and I hope everybody enjoyed it as well.
Likewise. Thank you very much, Jesse.
Thanks, Paddy.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jesse and Paddy, keep it going. The joy of the sustainable delivery of energy. Fantastic. Well, we now turn to the finale of Splines Out. Yes. This week we heard from the MVP Corp team who proclaimed their innocence, and we've also seen each of their demos. So who do you think the culprit is? Today, let's join our world-famous CAD detective, Reynard Rouge, as we revisit the clues and solve the case of the soapbox sabotage.
What's up, everybody? Now, I know you can't see through these shades, but these are real tears that Chad is crying. 10 million views. 10 million views on my Extrudo Cup coverage. But I am shocked. I just heard from Extrudo that your boy Chad is not getting renewed. No sponsorship? No non-disclosure. Chad knows too much. Yeah, come closer. I started following shell corporations to holding companies, to offshore accounts. And this next part, it is blowing my mind. I find a registration with ownership of Extrudo and MVP Corp, both as MB. Who's MB, you ask? The masked billionaire? They had the exact same signature. And guess what? There's an address. And we're gonna head over there right now. Let's go.
Can y'all see my tablet okay? Right. Ladies and gentlemen, kindly turn your attention to my lean board in the case of the Extrudo Cup crash. Just which members of this MVP team are responsible will soon become apparent. Now, Andy had motive. He has had 6 hardware denials and last-minute changes, enough to drive any of us into a caffeine-fueled mania. He was driving, and he might be extreme enough to pilot to his own doom. However, I see nothing but focus in his driving. Note his hands at the classic 10 and 2. Now, while his arm broken turned out to be a fake, was it willful deceit or a personal overreaction? Eric, we all agree your initial lightweight into the front end is fine work. Did you go too far and undermine the structural integrity in another revision? I will say Eric certainly appears surprised by the crash. In fact, from the outside, the final car doesn't look sabotaged at all. Perhaps no one knew what he was stepping into on race day. Mike, maybe you want such a mellow mushroom squawking like a plucked hen about incomplete metadata. Note that Mike barely bumped his little old knee, safely cushioned behind his team. Now, were those red herring bearings a managerial attempt at humor or a distraction to your real changes? The culprit knew their way around a collaborative space. Of that, I am certain. Trying to outfox Reynard behind a thicket of branches and merges. Already, we have more problems here than a hunting dog has fleas. But let's just cut to the chase. Who changed the structure and who approved the release? And what are we to make of this Extrudo stuff? This goes way beyond the crash at the Cup. And there's always these influencer channels. Y'all been following Chad? He's speculating that MVP, Extrudo, and the masked billionaire are tied up in this all together. MB, one and the same as my employer. If only we had more time. Alas, let's just bring this home and answer the most immediate question with the simple drag and drop of the product structure here to the place, and we're gonna...
Excuse me, sorry Reynard, but this just arrived. It's virtually cold carbonated and still in beta. They gave me an entire keg of the new Sweet and Sour.
Sweet! Brenda's got the Extrudo R&D hookup.
Does anyone know how to tap one of these?
I'm the beta tester around here.
No, I got this. Bro, you just get the cups.
I already
No, I got this. No,
Time out.
this. I feel like
Obviously, we all know who the culprit is here, but for the sake of alignment, could you fill us all in, please?
Well, recall, if you will, the masked billionaire's instructions were everyone expected to present. Now, who here has yet to show his or her work?
Oh, I don't think he meant everyone. I'm just the intern, remember?
Humor me for a moment, will you? And log in and show us your dashboard.
It is mostly GIFs and memes and swim, you know, standard work stuff.
I don't think so, Brenda. Everything there is Extrudo.
How about that Sweet and Sour, huh? Let's get your taste buds twisted along a path, right?
Brenda, what is Eric talking about?
All right, fine, you got me. I'm a huge Extrudo fangirl, okay? Ever since my first sip 5 years ago, I have been hooked. Plus, it's an amazing company.
Now, according to Wikipedia, it's a terrible company on the verge of bankruptcy ever since inception. And Wall Street has called it the worst niche product since the reversible toilet.
Wrong! It's delicious and fully constrained. And somewhere out there right now, thousands of designers are gathered in places like Dallas, in desperate need of CAD-specific refreshment.
No, I don't think there's any hope for that. In fact, I don't see how Extrudo's ownership can sleep at night. Never mind all the caffeine.
We sleep just fine.
We? Is she saying what I think she's saying?
Brenda, are you telling us?
Bro, what is going on right now?
Ha! You haven't even seen the boost we got from the Extrudo Cup this weekend.
Oh, frankly, my dear, I'd love to see that boost.
Look at our top line revenue. And during cup season every year, we actually make an operating income. With this year's buzz, we're looking at triple-digit growth, baby. Have you seen the markets? Extrudo's up 14%. You MVP guys are tough. You'll survive to design another day. There are tailwinds helping us here. Semi-sophisticated consumers, like you three, are tired of big beverage. Global sentiment on caffeine is at an all-time positive. And regions like Northern Europe are especially peppy right now. In April, we're breaking ground in Valisi. We'll be serving every designer around the globe and around the clock. With my factory layout already complete, there might even be enough room for quality control this time. But guys, seriously, this investigation is blocking my critical path to expansion, and I do hate breaking a dependency. How about the new flavors in our pipeline? Rainbow Crash. With flavor like this, we must be living in a simulation. Philip Fruit Punch, a well-rounded and perfect finish to everything. Lemon Live, tart yet sweet. Sub Delight, sculpted around virtual oranges. And what's the most critical component of a plan? Social media strategy. The cup was always the focal point for this. We would get massive coverage of the brightest minds competing in a well-hydrated engineering nirvana.
But that's not how the real world works, is it?
No, it was the video of the fails that went viral each year. Luckily, this did miracles for our brand awareness. And you three were always crowd favorites. We've revamped our influencer program and signed channels like Crazy Cat Kevin, Sheet Metal Sharon. If you aren't following them, your kids probably are. And this year, we break out of the Danny Dozen Cans demographic. Soon, we'll be on tap in every client boardroom and reseller office across the globe. My only hope for triple-digit growth was to get more attention on the brand. Unfortunately for you, that meant more crashes at the cup.
How did an intern do all that? I didn't even think they got paid.
I think it's been in front of us all along. Isn't that right, Brenda MB? MB, masked billionaire.
Stupid name. Fine, you got me again. And MVP Corp? Yeah, I own this too.
Whoa. So you're like totally loaded, huh?
5 years ago, I thought it would be fun to see what engineers do. You know, like an undercover boss. Turned out the only thing interesting was your massive thirst for energy drinks. That's when I leveraged everything and bought the controlling shares in Extrudo.
And now here we are. So far, all this makes sense, except why hire me? Why this investigation?
Reynard, 4 years of crashes on the same first corner, and the board starts to ask questions. You were supposed to pin this on these three clowns half an hour ago.
But you hired the best, Reynard Rouge.
Yeah, right. So plan B was no bio breaks, and I figured I'd fill them up on Extrudo until...
Until one of them just confessed so they could go pee. Genius.
Hey, wise up, everybody. It's your boy Chad, live. Excuse me, miss. Aren't you Brenda MB, mashed billionaire?
Listen, Scooby-Doo, they've already figured it out.
Oh, dang it. Cut.
Oh, that may be, but you know, there's still 100 million viewers out there who have yet to hear any of this fantastic story.
100 million? Chad, was it? You look very different in person.
Chad's really let himself go.
Let's talk about that sponsorship renewal of yours. What is your favorite flavor?
Weldman. I love the slag.
Well, I think this means that we're all off the project.
Works for me.
Righteous. Pizza delivery. I got 2 large room and pineapple.
Mike.
Yes.
Anyway, what do we do with all this extrudo?
Well, I guess I could, like, take it home and drink it.
Well, this team may have lost the race, but they won the day by going through this together. They have each other, they have Solidworks, and they have the 3DEXPERIENCE platform. Only thing to do now is to wait for the next opportunity worthy of the world-famous CAD detective, Reynard Rouge. In the meantime, might I suggest you pick up a copy of my new book, Reynard's Guide to Finding CAD Clues Within Yourself.
Or I, as your resident SolidWorks expert, could show you some new features in SolidWorks. After all, this was supposed to be a lunch and learn. I have to show some new features from sheet metal, sketch, and assemblies to feel complete inside. In SolidWorks 2025, there have been some great enhancements added to the sketcher. This e-bike assembly needs to have an accurate representation of the hydraulic brake lines. In the past, starting with a 2D sketch would have left us with an inaccurate path and incomplete connections. Soon, users can convert 2D sketches to 3D with a simple click. Modifying this path is even easier than before. The sketch triad can now be activated on spline points with a double click. This really streamlines positioning complex 3D splines. Tab and slot design means more simplicity and precision for the shop. Not only is the UI simplified in 2025, but there's a new spacing option that will align your slots to the center of the edge, allowing you to build your tab and slot system from the inside out. SolidWorks has long offered multiple options for working with large assemblies. One that I use the most is Large Design Review, or LDR. In SolidWorks 2025, more capabilities are available when using LDR. For example, breadcrumb navigation, which makes it super fast to pick the right component. 2025 expands LDR further. How about we run an interference detection to scan for overlaps? I've pre-selected a subassembly to run the check. Sure enough, there is an issue with the electrical cabinet and its structure. I'll have to investigate this a bit more. Now, in 2025, LDR also supports the use of component preview. This is a side window that gives you a second view to help inspect and modify your design. Here, we can see the issue is with a misaligned hinge bracket. No problem for SolidWorks 2025, since in-context edits are available when working in LDR. Editing this part in its underlying sketch is all that's needed to shift the geometry into place. This looks good. With the changes made, a quick rerun of the interference detection shows the issue has been resolved. If you aren't using LDR almost all the time, you will be with SolidWorks 2025. Now, let's review some of the great enhancements we saw this week in Dallas. And keep in mind, the development team is hard at work on many, many more coming throughout this year with each service pack release. I really can't wait for the right mouse menu so I can easily modify my sketch colors. Fillets will support multi-body selections. Chamfer selections will include the selection helper. Assembly visualization introduces a roll to here shortcut and adds support for additional property colors. Drawing files will be reloaded on the fly, and dangling dimensions in drawings and sketches can now be automatically repaired. Bills of materials will offer the option to be filtered by display state. Linear patterns will support planes and axes. Structure system profiles will be configurable. Properties will be more easily copied through cut lists. Sheet metal will introduce bend notches. Simulation Premium will allow users to target specific harmonic in dynamic studies, and adds a new orthotropic spring connection. Finally, in case you haven't been taking notes, let's recap some of the 3DEXPERIENCE Works roles the team used this week. I've really started to find a hankering for Boolean Blast, and through the demo, I primarily used 3DEXPERIENCE SolidWorks and Collaborative Industry Innovator to keep everything organized. Exactly what you have with SolidWorks and cloud services. Mike, the manager, has fallen in love with pomegranate and keeps an extra jug in frozen state in his desk drawer. Throughout his work week, he relies on Product Release Engineer and Collaborative Industry Innovator. Andy's rock climbing pack is full of Rainbow Crash that he stole from the Extrudo R&D lab. And to get his job done, he relies on structural mechanics engineer when the going gets tough, and of course, SolidWorks Simulation Premium. Reynard Rouge keeps his thirst quenched with a cold, sweet feature tea, fitting for a Southerner. And throughout the week, he kept track of all of these clues with Lean Team Player. Brenda loves the kick of extra strength over constrained. To keep her creativity flowing, she leverages 3D Swimmer. On the production side, factory flow simulation is helping her take over the world one extrudo can at a time. And of course, with Project Planner and Social Business Analyst, without Project Planner and Social Business Analyst, Brenda would have struggled to keep her scheme on track. All right, finally, remember team, let's keep our SolidWorks updated throughout the year so we can all use the new capabilities together. Whew, these demos are making me thirsty.
I think maybe you should stick to water. Great job. Well done, everybody. Woo!
Miss Tracy, we're all going to go to one of those escape rooms. Would you care to join us? I got a coupon.
Oh, maybe in just a minute. I got to do something first.
Oh, I see.
Okay. That'd be kind of fun, actually. Well, I did not see that coming. But perhaps a happy ending after all. The team is off the project, and Extrudo might still have a chance at its triple-digit growth. So thank you to the team for those great demos, and also for a little fun drama. Yeah, sure. Of course. The lessons, though, are pretty clear. Stay up to date on SolidWorks so you can incorporate enhancements like these. And explore the 3DEXPERIENCE portfolio, where there's a ton of power to complement your CAD. The first place to start with the platform is cloud services. No mystery there. Oh, how are we at the end of this event already? I can't, it has gone by so quickly. It has been amazing. Thank you so very much for having me back. It has been a pleasure and a privilege to celebrate this 25th anniversary with you. Thank you, thank you, thank you so very much. Thanks. And now let's take a look at some highlights from the week. To Dallas, and welcome to 3DEXPERIENCE World 2024! Jean-Paul Bassi!
This is the 25th anniversary of this event. We'll work together to imagine what the next 25 years will look like.
You are the most vibrant design community on the planet.
AI is a reality at SolidWorks. It's not a future concept. Future is now.
We're problem solvers. Technology advancement is what we do.
It's just a great place to network. It's a great place to learn about new technologies. Those are the types of things that really keep me coming back to 3DEXPERIENCE.
There's this strong community. It's fun to see people that you don't see except for here.
Our journey into the future of innovation continues. Today we present more trailblazing companies whose work demonstrates the transformative power of the technology.
5 years ago, we made the first sketch on SolidWorks. Life has come full circle as we introduce our first product to the world.
We are makers. We provide and touch lives worldwide.
Everyone
here super knowledgeable on like what they're presenting, which is super nice, and I'm just absorbing as much information as possible.
We wanted to offer you the tools to imagine, simulate, and create the world you wanted to live in. Yes, thank you. Thank you, everybody. When it comes to this phase of world, of course, it is half sad and half happy. Half sad because, of course, we are coming to a close. Half happy because we are coming to a close, you know. But happiness, it is what will linger longer. For exactly 1 year, until next time we'll be together. Happiness because of you. You came, first of all. Thank you very much. But you came with something special, with your passion and with your heart. And this is what makes me and all of us very happy. So I want you to be happy as well. I want to thank you for this. I hope you bring home the reflection of your energy and passion as well. I hope you have conveyed the same happiness and passion. And I hope we have reinforced the trust that we have each other, because this is a special year, 25th anniversary. We have talked about the next 25 years. And I think we have shared a compelling vision. And when you go home, I want you to remember one thing. And this is why I brought this bull on stage with me. I think all of you have seen how it is realized in our beautiful playground, because yes, we are makers at heart. This bull has been completely virtualized. Every single part of the process has been virtualized. The ideation, there was a reverse engineering, I understand. It was coming from a cloud of points, then it was transformed into surfaces, put into amazing Solidworks. I think X-Shape was used, optimized, polished, production organized, the cutting tool path optimized. This comes out of a single machine, 5 axis, true magic. But the important thing is that it will be there forever. And Mike is already working to make this faster. The reason is I want to produce many more of these and create a special competition around the beautiful bull. But the message that I want you to bring home is that total virtualization is what will drive us for the next 25 years. This is what we believe is necessary for our customers, for your companies to thrive in the 21st century, because we need to work different, products need to perform different, products need to incorporate new values, society is changing and the world is changing. And therefore, only total virtualization of every single asset, every single process is what will allow you to optimize everything, to create the data that will give you the best analytics that will tell you how to get better and better in the future. Because only the companies that will master this continuous improvement process will thrive and will dominate in your industries. So this is the message that I want you to take home. Also, I want to share other things, a couple of other things. I don't know if you remember, a few years back, I came on board on a surfboard. I came on the stage on a surfboard, and I surfed on the beautiful waters of Mexico. There was a video. I still fondly remember. It was a lot of fun. This year I came with an electric Shelby car, Shelby Cobra. Amazing, beautiful driving experience. What is left? I think next I want to fly on the stage. you know what? I think it's possible. And you know why it's possible? Because we have an amazing team. And now I would like actually to especially thank this team, because we don't do this often enough. We have an amazing team behind and in front of the scenes. Hundreds of employees, of customers that work relentlessly to make this event unforgettable, as I hope it is for you. And also special thanks to the companies that is the soul and importantly the heart of this event, the organization called Kramer. Okay, they did an amazing job. They've been with us since a long time, and they truly understand our spirit. And that's why together with all our employees, together with Kramer, together with you, we are able to create such unforgettable events. So thank you everybody. This tradition will continue. I know you will come. Bring another friend with you next time. And next time we'll be together. It will be in Houston, February 23, 26, 2025. Farewell. I see you at the next amazing edition of 3D Experience World. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome everyone. We're here at the live desk here at 3D Experience World 2024. We have some very special guests here, the members of the Skit team. You guys teleported from stage over to the desk. How are you guys doing? How did it feel out there?
We feel great.
Collectively, we feel great.
Good to be done with this.
Glad it's done. Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So yeah, what was the energy like out in general session? I think that's one thing. We've been talking about this a lot throughout the entire live stream, that we can't wait to see so many of you next year for 3D Experience World 2025. We could show the QR code there to get more information. I hope you've been inspired throughout the week. But that's one thing I would say watching it live that you don't really get a great sense of. Some of the vibe in the room, the reaction to new features, new enhancements, which we will surely get to, but of course the skit as well. So what did it feel like from the stage?
I thought it was great. It's when we write the skit, it's kind of tough to figure out what jokes will land. We have a very large global audience, a lot of languages. So yeah, to get a couple giggles throughout, that keeps us going, keeps us excited. So great energy, great crowd. Love to do it.
Any nerves that you have when you're getting started? You get that first laugh or that first applause, and you're like, and then you're just pumped and ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, we start working on a lot of these enhancements in October. So it's really cool to get that feedback from the audience, being excited about some of the new enhancements that we've been excited about for months, and it's just really cool to get those claps and those cheers. It's really awesome.
Strudo! That catches me off guard every time. I'm like, just jump a little bit. I know we're talking about the skit and SolidWorks 2025, right? A huge topic, huge part of this stream, the purpose of the stream, right, to get a big preview of 2025 as we have, which I love how you guys did that, by the way, at the end of the stream, kind of doing a full recap of the features that we saw. But what about that guy down there? You did a great job with Paddy. That was amazing.
Thank you, Jesse.
That was so cool. So it was how did it feel for you to talk to one of your heroes, right?
Super
Paddy
fun.
Lowe on that huge stage.
Super fun. Such a nice guy. So easy to talk to. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I was in the general session room as it was being simulcasted to you guys here on live, and somebody was standing next to me, and I was talking to one of our teammates here, and he's like, "Oh, do you work with that guy?" I was like, "Yeah, that's the first time he's been on this exact stage," and that's one of his heroes. So he's looking at it, he's like, "Huh, I didn't know that. I didn't figure that by the performance." So yeah, once again, just a great job to you. For those of you who are tuning in for the first time to World, this skit is sort of like Brenda, you've been in this skit a bunch of times. It's sort of like a fixture here at World, right?
What was the question?
Yeah, you can see there's a lot of people in the background. No, the skit itself, it's been a long time fixture at World. You've been in the skit many times, right?
Yeah, 10 or 12.
Yeah.
And I think it started in 2005. So I think that the year before I actually joined the company is when the first skit happened.
I remember being at the skit, seeing the skit as an application engineer. I was in the back of the room in Orlando. It was my first World, and I watched those guys at the time as Mark Schneider and that whole group, and was so blown away that they could make CAD so fun, so entertaining, and just wow. So
I remember,
to this day, when we get up,
yeah,
on the
I remember
stage,
that exact moment too.
Yeah, and it's just been an absolute blessing to be a part of this tradition. So.
Yeah. You mentioned, Mike, it's hard to, I've met so many people, I know we all have over the course of these last 3 days from so many different countries. It's quite inspiring actually on its own, to get sort of a level of story, a level of humor that sort of hits with all this sort of eclectic attendee base that we have at 3D Experience World. But yeah, I think when you stick to, in some ways, CAD-centric humor, it tends to stick. So you guys design these logos, in-house, right? The Extrudo logos, right?
Oh, yeah.
I've had so many people come by the way, predictably saying, and I'm sure you guys have as well, got any extra Extrudo I could take home, take back to my hotel room? Yeah. So yeah, who came up with the idea for Extrudo?
I think it was a collective. Yeah, we just had,
we all worked together, workshopped it together until came up with something.
The energy side soapbox thing, that came from the producers of Kramer that help with all of this. We've got a creative director there, Steve, if you're watching. Just a phenomenal job. He kind of pitched it, right? He pitches the idea, and then we just start working on it. How do we fit the story together with CAD demos? And it just organically grows over about 3 months.
Yeah, it's a crazy process. I was telling people, the story's out, right? That crazy character, Chad. I recorded that. By myself. I recorded that 1.5, 2 months ago. In some ways, I kind of forgot about it. I was like, oh wow, there's all these people looking at this crazy character we made up. But I think you guys agree. We do it for our users, right? We do it fully for our
100%,
users.
yeah.
We try to make the stories make sense. We try to make them funny, and we try to make them lend themselves sort of easily into these really awesome features that we're building into the product.
Sean, are you confirming that you are in fact Chad? Because there's been some speculation. You are confirming.
I'm coming clean. I am
you.
Chad, as we said, V1.
Chad
V1.
1.0, not 2.0, 1.0.
We knew it.
Yeah.
There are two Chads.
There are two Chads officially. So we want to get into some of the enhancements, recap some of those here. Of course, on the Solidworks YouTube, it's a great way throughout the year to see more about what's coming out, what's new, the newest, best, greatest, latest and greatest with Solidworks. But one announcement that's been huge at this conference, and we actually talked about it right before we went live with this segment, is the change between having the first major version have everything in it, and the rest of the stuff be patches, little service packs here and there, 5+, right? To bringing out actually net new stuff, net new functionality through the service packs. Many of us work with the products every day. How do you guys feel about that change?
I think it's one of the most exciting changes we've had in a really long time. I mean, we used to just have to wait for a big drop of new features every year, and that's fine. I mean, you get kind of comfortable with the other productivity enhancements and the new workflows, throughout the year, and then you're ready for a new batch. But when you're getting constant updates to the software, then that's even better. You're getting all of these new enhancements all the time. So, highly encourage everyone, keep updating. Every service pack, update. Take a look at that what's new document and see what's coming out. We're constantly coming out with new things all the time now.
I think it makes it easier to adopt new features also because you're looking at 2-3 features, maybe 4 at a time instead of an entire what's new PDF that you have to go through and kind of pull out all those features. So I think it makes it a lot easier to kind of bring those new features into your workflow.
Yeah, it'll also potentially maybe that also changes how we release information about the features, right? Yeah. You guys are so used to the what's new season, which is always amazing. Of course, here on Solidworks Live, we always have a what's new episode, which many of you thankfully attend. Thank you for that. But perhaps throughout the year, maybe we do these little drops, little bits of information, so that you guys can keep up to speed a little bit better. If you have any preferences on that, let us know in the comments. Let us know in the chat how you'd like to learn about these new features in now ensuing service packs. So we talked about Solidworks, right? We talked about the skit. Let's actually get into some of the features that were revealed throughout the skit and talk about them in maybe more of a normalized capacity, if we could. So yeah, let's see right here. So we have if we could show on the feed here. So first off, we have some fillet and chamfer enhancement. Okay, so we have this in the background. Yep, great. There you go.
Yeah, so here what we're showing is the ability to fillet multiple bodies in your project. So this is something that's been a top 10 for a little while, and we got a lot of applause.
I was going to say it's hard to hear the applause. I think on the live feed, which I see a couple of you guys nodding at that. I had so many people come up to me who do not work here, just user community members saying like, yeah, that definitely got a ruckus sort of applause, which was cool.
Yeah. And the one before that was just the ability to, add chamfers in a more efficient way. So just like with the fillet tool, you're able to have that selection toolbar that sort of shows you different selections that you can grab all at once. You can now do that in chamfers. So same capabilities in both, which is great. So
awesome. All right, so what do we have here? Yeah, okay, so these are the assembly visualization enhancements.
Yeah, now in SolidWorks you've been able to do this for a while where you can change your columns here for assembly visualization. But now if you want to apply a specific color to these things, like let's say for material, you can do that. So all your steel materials can be a color, all your carbon fibers can be a color, and that just makes it a lot more visual for you to understand and see them. Very and cool. We're also introducing like a roll-up.
I saw that, the rollback,
yeah.
sort of rollback bar for.
Yeah, so actually in assembly visualization, there's a bar at the top and the bar at the bottom. So they're both kind of roll bars, but there's now a shortcut that you can click on to sort of get those bars to move where you want them to. Because a lot of times your list here is very large, so moving those things down and all this sort of stuff is just a pain. But with this new shortcut button, it's just as simple as selecting one button. Boom, you can isolate components or isolate a set of components. Super simple, super easy.
Awesome. Do you guys have another interesting aspect of making this skit is that you guys are also the ones that are working on, everyone should know this, right? You guys are talented actors, stage performers, if I may. Especially you, Reynard, I have to say.
Appreciate that, son.
But you guys are also making these demos, right? So it must be cool to see, the reactions that, the way that we digitally storytell is kind of, making people aware of this stuff.
Yeah. Well, we love SolidWorks, and we also love putting on, or telling a great story. But
Putting on
we're
costumes.
SolidWorks experts first, and then storytellers after that.
Storytellers second,
yeah,
and
so
then
actors
eight.
way down the line.
All right, so let's take a look at this next one. So this is a bit more of a reminder. I think it's new for GP reiterated on the first day of general session that cloud services was included with each new seat of SolidWorks beginning in July, right? But we saw some capabilities, I think rather naturally, right? Just locking and unlocking files, lending into this specific enhancement, which is the ability to reload drawings, right?
Yeah, we've had reload in part and assembly for a long time. If you don't know what that is, basically you just need to pull the last saved file up. You can just reload it. I didn't know that forever. I would close it and reopen, and someone was like, you can reload it. Well, that hasn't been available in drawings, and we finally will have it in drawings coming in 2025.
Yeah.
This next one, though, is really nice. We've seen this kind of repair icon floating around the last few releases. We saw it with assembly mates. So if you have a broken mate, there's a little algorithm that runs in the background, and it tries to figure out what new face IDs or what face IDs may have gotten messed up when you maybe changed a part and lost a mate. So now they're supporting that with dangling dimensions, and it works in sketches, as Mark had mentioned. So if you lose that dimension, you can just now select repair, and it'll attempt, and it does a really good job. So that's an exciting one. And then this last one here is being able to filter by display state. This one actually got a big applause.
It did, yeah.
So a lot of terminology you might hear, like the 150% bomb. This is going to be part of a bigger project that really is honed into companies that use that in their workflows. So just another way to be able to refine your bill of materials, filter by display state. It's really cool.
Very cool. All right, so we have linear patterning planes and axes. Also, we see some leveraging of cloud services, bringing in that specific revision right there from the SolidWorks add-in.
Yeah, that was my superior design. I don't know if everybody remembers that one. Yeah, so I'm just showing a little bit of structure systems here. I love using structure systems because it's just so easy to put these together with just solid geometry, surface geometry, planes, whatever you want. But to get these planes in the position I wanted them to be, the normal workflow is to hold control and drag one of the points of the plane, and pull them out. But that's 4 or 5 planes there. It's just monotonous. So with being able to pattern those, as well as vary the dimensions on patterning, it just makes that a flash. So these workflows just allow you to just get through these designs so much faster.
All right, then we have easier copy of weldment properties, which I thought was awesome.
Right, yeah, so this is me just showing off how amazing the design is. So
Step
hey, I
by
proved,
step.
I proved you wrong.
Yeah,
all right,
you did, yeah, you did, actually. Okay. I wasn't finished yet, okay? God, Andy. Yeah, so something that, I've come across a lot with, welded structures, stuff like that is, the properties. You got to create a custom property. Well, a lot of times each of those members are going to need to have that. So what we're doing in SolidWorks 2025 now is just the ability to take that property and copy it to all the different members at once if you want to, or to specify specific members you'd like for the property to be copied to.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's right within, what I like about a lot of these enhancements is that SolidWorks is so robust now that we're just enhancing these things within existing interfaces. Such that, we talked about face IDs and all these little sort of intricate SolidWorks terms that people who are starting to use SolidWorks now will probably never have to care about that in some ways, right?
Yeah.
It'll start to seem weird. It's like, I remember face IDs, right? So yeah, that's
in
really
all my
interesting.
time of showing enhancements, I always loved the kind of funny nature that the smallest things, or seemingly the smallest things, always get the best reaction, right? Huge round of applause for filleting on multiple bodies. It's one of those things that's like, I do that all the time. That's perfect. And I love that SolidWorks is still going in and cleaning up little things like that they know users are using every day. It just makes it that much easier.
Yep.
I love that stuff.
That was a huge part of our. Earlier today, we had Kevin Burney at the desk. Dave, one of his teammates actually dropped by in between general session and this segment. just talk about, I think he said they had conducted like 65 plus different customer interviews, just that one person. So yeah, it's pretty insane. All right, so this, I believe, is our last one for this segment. So the bend notch feature. I know this one got real applause inside the YouTube chat.
Yeah, so this is a really cool sheet metal enhancement. I mean, what you're able to do is after you've built your sheet metal part on the flat pattern, you can define where those bend notches are, so you can line a part up easily when you manufacture, line it up on a press brake. So they become registration points. In the past, this was a little bit more difficult to do, especially since you had to do it before it was bent in the flat pattern. Now in the flat pattern, you just really quickly, boom, boom, choose where they are. You can even choose different shapes for what those bend notches look like. And yeah, I mean, I imagine there are people in manufacturing who are just like, oh, that's going to help me a lot. Yeah. And especially people who are designing sheet metal for manufacturing, for sure.
Yeah. There were people in the chat, actually, I don't know if you caught it, but people in the live chat saying, bend notches, Like they were actually really animated and excited about that, which is always, like we're saying, it's always good to see that feedback from our users. But hey, I know you guys are really busy. I don't know do you guys ever take these costumes off?
Nope. What costume? Yeah, what are you talking about?
Look, I'm flying home in my garb here.
Well, I sometimes put my SolidWorks ID on, if that's what you mean.
So well, I mean, I always have to be ready to. He's had a chalk bag on this whole time as well.
Just in case I need to hit something. Climb, like boom,
Well, you guys, thanks for bringing us the skit. Thank you for bringing us all these new features and enhancements within 3DEXPERIENCE Works, within SolidWorks 2025. And of course, thank you for bringing us Extrudo. All right, guys, stay tuned. We're going to do a conference close in just a moment, but thank you all for stopping by.
Thanks for having us, Sean.
Thanks so much, Sean.
Well, welcome back to the final segment. Somehow, the final segment of 3D Experience World 2024.
Didn't I just drive here from the airport?
Yeah, I think so.
I thought, yeah.
I genuinely, we said this last year, but I genuinely can't believe we're done already.
But it's true, it happens every year because the old adage, it is time flies when you're having fun, when you're learning, it went by so quickly this year,
It really did. It really did. I almost made myself cry on stage earlier. I'm going to make myself cry again because we're...
I also almost made myself cry on stage when I come out to the very end to say, like, well, that's it. Thank you so much. I was like, oh, I was like, wait, that is it? Like, I have to say this is it. I was like, come on.
We just started.
I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready for it to be over. I wasn't ready.
I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you.
Yeah.
Yep, it's our last five favorite things.
The ride into the sunset.
Yes. And you two have been crushing it here at the live desk all week, and we're going to start right off with our favorite things. And we're going to talk about our favorite things, the highlights of the last 2 days. And today's gigantic highlight was watching you on stage, getting to introduce you, our live co-host, but getting to introduce you in general session on the main stage, the closing session, to introduce Paddy Lowe and watch you two on stage. What a fantastic conversation. What an interview. How did that feel?
It was so much fun. He's like the nicest guy in the world. He's so easy to talk to. I had so much fun. So much fun.
I mean, I wrote down so many quotes that he said, not just about engineering, not just about, but about life.
Yeah.
Even how he started off, he was talking about, his career wasn't like, oh, when I was 6, I had this long path.
Yep.
And oftentimes I think we need to know that you need to know when you're a kid, you're like, oh, did I miss my window? Did I miss my big opportunity? Yeah. But he literally said one rung at a time. He never looked at the whole ladder, one rung at a time.
Yep.
You show up on that rung, you do amazing work, and then you figure out what is the next rung to the next rung. And I thought that was phenomenal. It's someone with such a gigantically storied career.
Completely agree, especially when you see someone who's, like I said, who has been so successful in one particular industry and stayed there for so long. You just almost assume that's what they always wanted to do. That's what they were made to do or whatever. But yeah, I enjoyed that too.
Yeah, I was able to be inside for general session, and like we'd mentioned in the previous segment here, revealing more of 2025, talking about the skit, of course. You don't fully get the vibe of general session when you're watching even the sounds, like the level of applause or just the reactions, people saying things, whispering things to each other. You get a sense of that more so when you're in the room. And even just like little details, I mentioned to you off camera, little details like you knowing offhand, like just very apparent that you knew him, you had followed him, he's one of your heroes. Like knowing the name of his test driver, I mentioned that to you, and seeing his reaction to that, like, oh, this is a very informed interview. Like it was very clear he was having fun, that you were having fun. So yeah, I think people really played off of that, and I think that was great. And of course, it helps that he's talking about a topic that I think is of interest to many of our attendees, right?
Yeah.
In a lot of ways.
I think I said right in the email, give them what they want. Let's talk
about
Formula 1.
You did say that.
Who doesn't love Formula 1?
Yep.
Well, Jesse, I actually liked the part when you said something about the 53 wins, and he was like, oh, is that how many? Like, you at one point had better information about his career than he did.
Yeah, I'm better at reading Wikipedia or something, probably.
That's
probably
probably
what it is.
You probably didn't, he's very humble, but like you probably didn't even look at any notes, and you probably didn't even have that in your notes.
No, I didn't.
It's just like sort of off the top of your head. Yeah, you just knew because you're actually a fan of his.
Sean, what about you? What's a big moment for
you?
you?
Well, I officially have 4. I'm sure all of your top 5 are gone. No, I'm kidding. No, but I'm gonna stick with general session here. A lot of or most of my favorite general session moments are moments that spark emotion, and I think for a lot of reasons and for a lot of us, because it's relatable in a lot of ways, seeing Mike Puckett be able to make it to World, knowing that was a huge goal of his. And to also feature someone that's doing some great things as well at a product level. Suchit bringing those two on stage, I thought that was phenomenal. That was awesome to see. It was a very human moment. We've been thankful to have like a lot of these throughout the course of this week, but. Yeah, that was a big thing for me.
I do have to say that was, of course, on my list as well. And Mike, if you are watching, it was so joyous to talk to you backstage and to see how well his language has come along, and to see how much he had to like rewire basically his brain circuitry. And to have him on stage to outro him and to be there it really was a wonderful moment. And I think you're right. I feel like this year, I'm not exactly sure. There's so many. Last year it was like the first year back after being virtual for a couple of years, right?
Yep.
And so that had its own, like, wow, we're like here. This is amazing. Like, people. I can't believe that I'm seeing you in person. But then this year was like that kind of next level. Now let's get a little deeper. You know, let's get a little deeper to these real human moments and these real human connections that last year we were just so excited to see one another that this year we're like, and now how are you really?
Yep.
And it's been beautiful to have these experiences and have this community with one another here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I didn't realize that Paddy and I were following that until we got back there, and I was like, oh man, that definitely heightened my emotions before I even got on stage, but it was so great to see him. And it's so brave to go out on main stage like that. I sense that's a lot of people would maybe be self-conscious or about that.
Sure.
So just so proud of him for going out there and doing that. He did an amazing job. It's so nice to see him. I'm so excited he could make it.
It was really wonderful.
That was great.
Really wonderful.
So Tracy, what's one of yours?
Well, I mean, I do have to switch gears just a tiny little bit on this one to talk about also like the fun.
Yes.
Right? Because that is Tuesday night is event night. We have to talk about event night. That is a lot of the excitement. So Gillies, it's a huge event space here in Dallas, and that is part of coming to World. Coming to this event is you learn, you take notes, you're so inspired, and then you play. And then you hang out. Oh, here's some amazing video. And you hang out, and you play, and you meet people, and it's this fantastic community of people just playing. And we know once you're in that space, this is only us. It's only us at this event. So you can talk to anyone. You can go up to the bar, up to a table, dance with anyone, and know that we are all part of the community, and it's one big joyous space together.
Yeah, one thing I really loved about Gillies, I think these shots where people were, going crazy and dancing, and there's a lot of, there was great music right there, by the way. There was a live band.
Yes.
I haven't seen so much of this. It was a huge place. I have to say, it was a huge place. There was
we
so much
got
to do.
lost for 45 minutes in there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I really valued as well that there were these sort of more intimate, quieter areas where you could have conversation, sort of a traditional bar setup. It had something. There were all these different, like we're seeing some of them, all these different sorts of fun activities you can engage in, right? I thought it was a great time. We had shuttles, of course, taking people from the Omni over to Gillies campus, I guess you could just say. It was this humongous place. I had a ton of fun, meeting new people and having fun listening to music, but also finding those quieter times as well.
Well, I agree. It was like it's this big event space, and then there were pockets of places to pull away and have conversations with someone that maybe that you met on site, or maybe you met during the day and say, oh, I saw you yesterday. Like I saw, aren't you the person from, oh, didn't I see? And then get to say like, oh, let's hang out over here. And so yes, loud bands, big music, excitement here, but also like deep conversation and more connection as well. And had both. It had all of it. It was fantastic.
Yeah, we talk about, we have on this show a lot, and every year we do, we talk about the community that SolidWorks has. But this year, I think more than usual, I've had people come up to me and say, like, what is going on with you guys? Like, you're like an odd group of people, right? And I mean, especially for engineers, right? There's stereotypes around engineers, but like, I've had several people from that are, new to the event or whatever saying, you guys are interesting and cool.
All right, I'm gonna. Yesterday I talked about meeting a couple of people. I have to shout out one person that I met. I don't know if she'll watch this, but there was a young woman that I met who, an engineer, and she is making jewelry. She's 3D printing jewelry. Cool. And we met, and she was like, "Oh, you're from the stage," and I was like, "I'm Tracy," and we had such a great time meeting. And she has a new site called Sarah Engineerings. Engineering. She's 3D printing
Sarah
earrings.
Engineerings.
She called it Engineerings. I was like, oh, that is a great site. I was like, how smart is that? And it was just really, it was really fun to meet so many people. And people who are not just at the Paddy Lowe level saying, like, this is my big career. We're talking about inspiring here. But people being inspired just out of college, or young adults, or saying like, oh, look at this skill set, this passion that I have, and how can I put together my skill set and my passion and maybe my career?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've gotten so many of those, just different websites for sources of inspiration for the rest of the year. Yeah, but maybe she could be a future guest on SolidWorks live design episode.
Yeah, that's
right.
That'd be great. That'd be a lot of fun.
I've met a number of individuals. Suchit mentioned on main stage the SolidWorks Influencer Program, which we've had for a number of years now. But even we've had different meetups throughout the year. I think, or throughout the event here. I think at one point we were in a room and it was found out that we had in our attendance base among these different creators, many of whom you probably, like the Hacksmith, you probably watch on TV. It was over 50 million subscribers worth of engineering content creators.
Yeah, subscribers.
Yeah.
Subscribers worth. Yeah.
Yes, subscribers worth, which, you know, probably hundreds of millions of, you know, video views of their different projects. So yeah, those connections are definitely going to sort of exceed just this event for me.
They do, because, you know, I follow people that I meet here every year.
Yeah,
and I
totally.
follow the work they do, I follow their creations, and it is exciting to meet people in person and then see their great creations online and continue to follow them. I love it. I love watching. Of course, you know, I'm a woman, you know. I love watching the young women and watch their careers grow in engineering. I think is very exciting to watch.
I want to give one. It's pretty simple, but it's very meaningful. Eric Beatty's face when he won
Oh.
the Champions
Yes.
Award was outstanding to see. He was. I guess you probably could tell watching from home, but I just want to say it. He had no idea he was winning that award. So I knew he was going to win that award, and to see his shock,
Yes.
somehow someone who does that much for the community, the shock that he had on his face was priceless.
Well, because I didn't know that he didn't know either. I didn't know they didn't know ahead of
Yeah.
time. And it was, you could talk about being in the room. You could feel the energy change when he was like, whoa.
Yeah,
Like, it
and
was
how happy
wonderful.
everyone was to sort of get out of the way, get Eric on camera for
Put
this.
him in front, put him in front, let the camera get him.
This huge, well-earned moment for him.
Yes.
I thought that was so telling in so many ways. So that was definitely one of, I just typed out Eric Beatty's face.
Yeah.
Like, that's gonna stay with me. His reaction was priceless.
He's essentially a friend of the show at this point.
Yeah.
Every episode, every live episode we do, he's in the chat saying hi
Yep.
and talking. I was telling that to Paddy backstage because we were backstage just when that was all happening, and so I was explaining the situation there. I'm like, he's always there for us. He's always in our comments saying hi, saying hello.
100%. You guys have any more you want to get in here?
Well, I have one from the week, a highlight from the week.
Okay.
Because we talked about the brand ice, and we talked about the makerspace that's here. And I did get to go play, and I got to battle robot. And I think we have video of it. I'm not sure if we do or not, but I had such a good time with the experience of it. And that is one of the things that we talk about here a lot.
There we go.
We do encourage people. Oh, it was really fun. It was really fun. And there was a moment I got confused whose robot was whose, and I thought I was crushing it, and then I was like, oh no, I think I'm getting crushed.
It's better to not know.
I was like, oh wait. But we battled back and forth, and it was a pretty significant battle, so we both had a turn, so it was good. But the thing is we talk about a lot about the event and everything that you can learn online, the things that you can see online. But when you come in person, when you go to the playground, when you get to actually experience everything, it is a little bit different. We do call it 3D experience world, and I think that experience part of it is critical. I think that's crucial. We come and experience. And so that is one of my highlights, is getting to play with the team, and I loved it.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I'll piggyback off that for just one more because
Sure.
we were talking early in the show, probably Monday, must have been, to Ariane.
Yep.
And we said we had met a bunch of people who had never been here before, and I wanted to check back in with him. I accidentally did when I was back earlier today, and I bumped into him and said, hey, man, how's it going? And he said, more people need to know about this. How do more people not know about this? And I'm like, spread the word, my friend. Spread the word.
You have a platform.
Join us next year. Yep,
for
absolutely.
sure. He was walking around with a videographer. So if you haven't subscribed to his channel, Ariane, SolidWorks Tutorials with Ariane, I'm sure he'll be putting out some content about his time at 3D Experience World once he's digested it in a lot of ways.
Yeah, slept for a week.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have a lot to digest. It's like, I haven't done any socials yet. I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Hashtag 3DEXPERIENCE World. Yeah, 24, right?
Yep.
Because I'm like, wow, I'm going to have to sit down and regroup. It's like I've taken pictures and videos and had such a good time with everyone, but it's barely been a moment to actually share the social. So it will just keep on going. The energy of the event will keep on going. I encourage everybody to share, and we encourage you to come back next year.
Tag us.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, please post all of your pictures, all of your videos. Make sure to use the hashtags, right, so people can follow along even easier. But we'd be remiss if we didn't mention, right before we go, 3D Experience World 2025, we will be back, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so we will have 3D Experience World. It'll be bigger, better. So yeah, I think if you can't tell, we are very, very excited for that. I wanted to show the QR code for 3D Experience World 2025. So if you want to know immediately, as soon as the information comes out, more about 3D Experience World 2025, speakers, all of the information that will assuredly be coming out about the event, just to stay tuned. Sign up for updates. Just scan that QR code. It'll take you right to a link. Let's get your email, and we'll keep in touch. But yeah,
I'm on the list.
You're on the list.
I'm on the mailing
Houston,
list.
next year, Houston.
I know, Houston.
Where they were ready. Space theme, maybe? I don't know. We'll see what happens.
Very likely.
Yeah, it's we have actually a great deal of possibilities for our desk ornaments for next year. So we're already thinking through ideas.
There's so much to plan.
That's-
So
oh,
much
man.
planning. Literally, the minute GP says next year, Houston, the events team is so quickly. Here's what we're gonna do. I mean, it starts. The planning starts immediately to put on the best possible events.
Yep. So I don't want this segment to end. But do you guys have anything else?
I know. I just thank you for
Yeah.
allowing me to be a part of it and to be here on the set with you and to share this excitement and energy and joy of the community. I'm privileged to be a part of it.
Yep, Jesse. Any
nothing more to
parting words?
say.
He's all the words
It's
from
been
the
amazing.
from the stage, and
Can't
of
believe
course,
it's
3
over.
straight days of live here. I just wanted to say thank you, firstly to everyone who's watched day 1, day 2, day 3, all of the content we've had. If you missed any of it, you want to rewatch any of it, send it to your friends. Yeah, you can go to the Solidworks YouTube right where you are right now to take a look at all of the live content that we have shown over the past 3 days. So again, thank you all for watching. I also wanted to remind you, we have live stream content, great video tutorial content, shorts, quick tips all throughout the year. That's kind of what Jesse and I and team do when we're not here at 3D Experience World in Dallas, or we're soon to be, as you mentioned, Tracy, in Houston. So please subscribe to the channel. Hit the little notification bell so you can see whenever we go live, whenever we release a new What's New video for 2025, whatever it is. But I also wanted to thank some members of our crew. So firstly, I wanted to thank Ian. Ian, our producer. Ian's behind the scenes. He's always running around doing stuff. This show could not be done without the work that Ian does for us. So thank you so much to Ian. I know Jesse definitely agrees with that.
I was just about to butt in, actually, and say, wait, hold on, because I should have said that when you gave me the opportunity.
No, for sure. So I have to thank him. Thank you to the team at Kramer. This set is insane. I think maybe you've seen in passing, you guys who have watched, of course you can see the backdrop, but just the light fixtures, everything that's set up so nicely, booming out to the crowd through these nice speakers. Of course, the talented team with it. Yeah, we couldn't have a better team working on this event. So thank you guys so much. Thank you to Brenda and Kristen for putting on an amazing event. Thank you to everyone else, our users, our team members, everyone who came out to present, everyone on the shop floor who's just been tirelessly animated and making themselves available, making connections. And thank you to all of you who will be here for 3D Experience World 2025. I think that's a wrap. That's it.
We'll see you next year.
Thank you guys so much. And yeah, we hope to see you live on the Solidworks YouTube channel. And then, of course, for 3D Experience World 2025. Take care.